Kai Barton, a B-class hunter and the YouTube channel Any Raid, welcomed everyone to the channel where they raid everything they can. Today's monster is a C+ class monster. This video will be about how to attack an arachne. As viewers can see, arachnes live in groups, just like ants. They are also arthropods. However, they are completely different from the spiders from Earth. For example, these guys do not attack from the very beginning. Instead, they spit webs at their enemies. However, instead, the arachnes began to attack Kai and his group. The blogger quickly started to fight back. He says that everything didn't go according to plan and let the cameraman cut it out later. Meet Ethan Carter, who is responsible for filming and editing on the Any Raid channel. The original fighting style of the arachne is not direct attacks, but hunting. That's why they first spit webs to entangle the enemy, and then they inject poison into the immobilized target, causing it to slowly resist. That's why they never rushed forward just like that. Kai yells at the bastard Ethan that they will talk later, but now he needs to deal with the monster. The blogger swung his sword, thereby cutting down the spiders. Kai asks Kai what the hell this is. The guy said that arachnes first spit out webs. It would be a last resort for an arachne to pounce on its prey like that. But what if the arachnes are already in a desperate situation where they have nothing to lose? Kai grabbed Ethan and asked if the guy was going to continue acting like he was innocent. The hero apologized timidly. But at that moment, Kai punched him in the stomach, saying that he almost died because of Ethan. The blogger demanded to collect better information. This is why without special features you are useless. Let's talk about traits. Ethan is awakened, but the ability he received after awakening has no traits. She is completely useless in the work of hunters, since the hero really can't do anything. So Ethan chose this way to survive, to analyze monsters and teach hunters how to attack them. Kai is angry at this freak. He almost died because of this brat. If it weren't for him, the whole team would have died. But then the guys started pointing at something behind their boss. It turned out to be an elite monster. Kai told his entire group to run. Kai accidentally dropped his sword. Is he going to die at this rate? If he wants to escape from this place, he needs bait. So the guy grabbed the running Ethan and pushed him back. It was all because of his shitty information. So Kai said Ethan should take responsibility. Things are bad. The elite monster is getting closer. The hero's body does not obey him. Will he die? At that moment, Ethan remembered his mother's last words about him having to protect Chloe. No, he can't die here. At least for his little sister's sake. Ethan picked up Kai's sword from the ground and turned to face the monster. He had to survive against all odds. However, just as the hero wanted to pounce on the monster, some force that exploded the arachne pushed him back. Ethan saw a blonde man in a red robe off to the side, but who he was unclear. And then there's some other guy who's looking for that bastard. He pounced on the blonde, shouting that the arrogant bastard would stop running away here. Ethan watches everything and tries to understand what is happening and why they are fighting. The strength between these two is incredible. Those who make even arachnes and elite monsters tremble in fear. Unstoppable creatures. Who are those two? They are locked in a fight and their strength is so great that they split the earth in half. The dark guy demands that they stop hiding. He has had enough of this. But the blonde replies that no, they have a long way to go until it's all over. So he wants to go to the end. Then the dark guy also prepared his most powerful blow and their magic collided face to face. He shouts that the blonde guy won't come out unscathed at this rate either. But the guy doesn't care because he left the option open. The blonde looked at Ethan and apologized for dragging him into this. The guys attacked each other with full force, and the blonde finally said that he was leaving something for Ethan. The hero woke up sometime later, when everything was already over. While he was trying to at least slightly understand what it was, he saw a switched-on phone under his feet. The connection check began, and then the manager's position change was completed. The legends of history appeared on the screen. So the manager was welcomed to GodTube. Meanwhile, Kai and his team have already escaped the dungeon. What luck. What are the chances of encountering an elite monster in a C+ dungeon? The boys praised the boss. Using that idiot as bait was a great decision, as expected of a B-rank hunter. Kai smirked. There was a reason his channel's slogan was, "We'll raid everything we can." Of course he was prepared for that. And then suddenly, the guy heard Ethan's voice from behind, who was very angry. The hero grabbed Kai and tried to hit him, but seemed to have forgotten that he himself was an F rank. Kai doesn't know how Ethan survived, but he was lucky. The guy was too lazy to look for a new editor. The hero asked if he was serious now. Does Kai really think Ethan will continue to work for the guy who tried to kill him? But Kai replied that it was the hero who begged and cried, saying that he needed money for medicine for his sister, and he helped him out of his generosity. Ethan can't do this to him and he has to pay him back. Kai told the boy to know his place. If you can't take it, then don't miss anything. Ethan had this habit because Kai was too cheeky. The hero didn't know it would help. The video of Kai leaving him could get an incredible amount of views. The guy reminds that he can just kill Ethan here. Yes, the hero will die, but Kai will go to jail and lose his hard-earned channel. So let him kill. Kai leaned over to Ethan and told him that if this video was posted anywhere, he shouldn't think that his sister would be safe. The guy told his guys that they would find a new editor and ordered them to grab their things. Ethan said just to try to hurt his sister. Kai has no idea what the hero will do to him. At home, Ethan decided to take a closer look at what the channels of the gods were. YouTube is a free-to-use platform where anyone can upload their videos. Of the many channels on this site, the most popular are the Hunter channels. However, it also contains such unusual channels as Saint, the holy sword that the girl bought from Hephaestus. We'll try it on Lucifer. Or Thor, a veteran player completes the world serpent Amungand in 12 minutes. Gods from mythology, figures from history, heroes and legendary figures. Are they really running this whole god tube? So who was that guy and why did he give Ethan that phone? It's all confusing. The hero puts his phone down. But if it's true, and if they really do run channels like NewTube, they will probably start with at least 1 million subscribers. Let's see, it doesn't look so bad. Ethan decided it was worth a try. Ethan came across a lecture by Zhuge Liang, a Chinese general and statesman during the Three Kingdoms period. For subscribing to the channel, the hero received S+ rank insight. He can watch and study a lecture about her traits. Ethan knows that S+ is only a classification. It is not a real rank. The people who fought against the Demon Lord, the 13 heroes, the people assumed that they might have S+ traits. And Ethan got this just by subscribing to the channel. No way. If this is true, he should have felt something. But there is no change. Maybe because it improves his observation and intelligence? If so, it would be hard to notice the difference immediately. Hercules is having an event for 10,000 subscribers, a free personal training session on how to lift the House of Zeus. Ethan thought he could tell the difference after that, so he signed up. He gained SS rank superhuman strength. The hero is shocked. He smashes the laptop with a simple movement. It is hard to believe that Ethan actually received the SS rank trait. He used superhuman strength and its mastery increased slightly. And through diligent thinking, the mastery of insight increased slightly. Does Ethan really need to reach 100% to fully master this ability? Well, he decided to check out Hercules' personal training. Thanks to the stimulation of his legs, he lifted an entire building. Ethan watched all this with his mouth open. How could he follow this? Now it was clear why Hercules only had one follower. The hero would never be able to do this. He wanted to write back, but writing back was impossible. Hercules turned to the thin boy, saying that he could come whenever he wanted, but he couldn't put him to bed whenever he wanted. Ethan tried dozens more times, but he could not unsubscribe from the channel. Currently, there is a subscription to 2 of the 3 channels. Suddenly, the hero received a call from someone who was recorded with a very unpleasant expression. Ethan picked up the phone and asked what Kai needed. The guy was surprised. He thought the editor had blocked him. Ethan asked him again what he wanted. The hero had nowhere else to go. But Kai didn't call to make fun of him. Just wanted to talk business. The guy asked me not to be so rude. They worked together until recently. Ethan demands to know what Kai wants. He has no time for idle talk. So the SH group suggested streaming together. Kai suggested Ethan to join them. The hero is a little surprised, because the SH group is the #1 financial company in Korea. Recently, the group's granddaughter has awakened 2 hunter traits within herself. Ethan believes that they are also involved in hunting. Kai thinks they are expanding their business now, so they want to see what it's like. This is the SH group, so the guy thought that the editor wouldn't refuse. However, the hero didn't want to. Then Kai offered to pay him 50,000 per video. Does he want to join now or still not? That's 10 times what Kai usually pays him. It's good for them. The guy asked how much Ethan wanted, and then the hero named the sum of 50 million. Kai said that Ethan had gone crazy. Does he really think he's worth that much? Or maybe he knows how much SH Group pays him. Insight skill increased. Ethan decided to guess why the SH Group was trying to work with Kai and not with other rank hunters. It's obvious, his granddaughter just received 2 S-rank traits. SH Group Chairman Trayson Knox isn't going to just sit back and watch. He wants his granddaughter to learn the basics first. And what is the basis for hunters? Hunting monsters. The reason why Kai's channel has gained 210,000 subscribers. And I was able to make money, thanks to Ethan's unique strategies. So the reason Chairman Knox turned to Kai wasn't because of him, but because of our hero's knowledge. But still, 50 million is too much. Ethan asked if Kai didn't want it. If he can't get a loan or credit, he goes and looks for someone else. After these words, the hero hung up. The next day, Kai met Ethan in the B-rank dungeon. The hero asked when the blogger was going to transfer the rest of the money. Kai said he would send them as soon as it was all over. He asks when Stacy Knox will arrive. At that moment she appeared, introduced herself, and offered to leave right away. Ethan stared. This girl is Stacy Knox. So beautiful. But she will be difficult to approach. Well, for now the hero gets his money and just does his job. They walked forward and a black troll appeared in front of the guys. Kai pretends that Stacy is right. This monster is classified as a B+ rank monster. Maybe it is a B rank monster. But with his regenerative abilities close to immortality, those who don't know how to attack him could lose their lives. Kai tells how to attack the troll, just like Ethan told him. Talks about the strategy that everyone knows. This is to tear apart the entire body of the black troll, destroy the heart and cut off the head. But while Kai continued to chew over all this, Stacy took out her sword and rushed towards the monster. She stabbed the troll right in the heart and then chopped off his head. It was easy. Kai pretends that he never thought that the girl would catch the troll so flawlessly with minimal knowledge, as expected from an S-rank hunter. Stacy, shaking blood off her sword, replied that the guy was flattering her. Ethan noticed the sword. This must be Aurelian's weapon, which he had only heard about. The hero asked how much it would cost. Stacy looked at the sword and said about 20 billion. The guys were shocked. But the girl added that it was not worth ending with one black troll. She suggested moving on. An hour passed. It seems Stacy has figured things out a bit now. She thought there were no more trolls. She suggested that we end it there. Kai shook Stacy's hand, bowed, and said she had done a good job. He thought it would be a good opportunity to get acquainted with the Hunters Guild. But he couldn't do anything, and now he's going to get 50 million taken away because of that bastard Ethan. That's probably what he's thinking. Suddenly, there was an earthquake. Kai realized that this was his chance. Judging by its size, it was most likely an elite monster. No, Ethan sees that it is not an elite monster, but a boss monster. The huge troll swung and Stacy immediately began to hold back the blow. However, the monster pushed and the girl fell. Meanwhile, Kai told his team to run. But only from the troll's blow to the ground, sharp stones flew, which hit the guys in the back. Kai, shielded by others, continued to run. Group SH, or wherever it is, he must escape from this place. The guy panicked and repeated to himself that he couldn't stop and that he couldn't die. However, with his huge steps, the boss came close to Kai and already began to swing. But Stacy immediately blocked the blow with her sword, covering the guy. The girl couldn't withstand the pressure of the monster again and fell down without strength. The troll was about to crush her. Stacy realizes she must dodge. She climbs up the troll's arm onto his head and slashes with her sword. The monster threw her off and began swinging again. Now the girl was a millimeter away from death. Ethan looks at all this and realizes that they can't win, even if it's Stacy. It doesn't matter that she is a hunter with 2 S-rank traits. She is just a newbie who lacks experience right now. There is no way to win. The only choice Ethan can make is to leave Stacy and run. Otherwise, he will die. Or believe in the superpower of SS rank on GodTube. What we know exactly what rank it is now. Kai ran past Ethan and something in the hero's head snapped. After all, it was he who used Ethan as cannon fodder last time, simply because he allegedly gave false information. In his soul, the hero understands that they cannot win, but in his thoughts only the word run flashes. Money and prestige? These things are useless when you're dead. But if Ethan leaves Stacy here and runs away, he'll be no different than that bastard Kai who abandoned him and ran away. So the hero hit the troll's fist, which was about to break the girl's temper. Stacy can't believe the guy blocked his boss's fist. Who the hell is Ethan? The hero felt the strength of Hercules in his hands. Ethan continued to parry each blow from the troll. He gave the signal to Stacy. She realized this and struck the monster in the heart, after which she cut off its head. Ethan asked if it was over. No, something was wrong. Boss types are variations, which undergo a double transformation. Therefore, the physical transformation will occur naturally. The boss's head grew back onto his body and the troll grabbed Stacy sharply. It's all over if she dies, but there's nothing Ethan can do. If all the traits the hero got from GodTube are real, even if they are weak now, and if all of them are his strength, Ethan could buy himself some time. He began to straighten the troll's fingers. Thus, the girl managed to crawl out of his clutches. The hero told her to aim for the heart. Ethan, still holding her hand, tells her to just trust him and attack. Stacy made her way up the monster, cutting his hand in the process. And finally, she reached her goal, the heart. The hero can hold out for another 0.5 seconds, no more. No time to explain how to attack the troll. Ethan shouts that the boss has two hearts. He is confident that Stacy will figure it out with her sixth sense. No, she must understand this. The girl quickly reacted and swung. And then, with a confident movement, she plunged the sword into the other half of the monster's chest. Now it's time for the troll to just die. Ethan's skill has improved a bit, and he, with renewed strength, hit the boss right in the head. Finally, this horror was over. Stacy is glad they won, but the consequences didn't pass Ethan by. He fell unconscious, and the girl wondered who he was. The next day, the hero woke up in the hospital, and a girl was already sitting in front of him. She asked for forgiveness. Ethan asked what she was doing there. Doesn't he see the four? That's because Stacy brought him to the hospital because he was badly hurt. All of the hero's muscles are torn, and his ribs are broken. The girl moved closer and asked how Ethan was feeling. She was too close. And at that moment, Stacy put her hand on the hero's forehead. It seems he has a fever. Oh yeah, they didn't really introduce themselves. The girl asked his name. Ethan was surprised, but introduced himself. Didn't Stacy know his name? She should have known his personal details when he was admitted to this hospital room. And then the girl, as if reading his thoughts, replied that she would like to hear it herself. Amazing. Ethan heard that her S-class trait is a sixth sense. No wonder Stacy is unique. The hero must be out of his mind since he just woke up, but the girl would like to propose to him. Stacy invited Ethan to join her team. The hero was very surprised and asked if it was because he had fought the troll. And then Stacy offered him a yearly salary of 1 billion won. In addition, they would equally divide the spoils from the monsters. This is crazy. 1 billion a year salary and loot from monsters. And Stacy heard that Ethan's sister suffers from a blood disease. She is also hospitalized in this hospital. SH will take care of the expenses. The hero will not have to pay. Ethan asked what he had done to deserve such a price. And then Stacy asked him to develop a strategy for all the monsters she would hunt in the future. That night, Ethan considered whether he should refuse. When he told the girl, she said she understood, but asked him to tell her if he changed his mind. Stacy still owes the hero for saving her life, so she will repay the debt by paying Chloe's medical bills. No, Ethan will try to believe in the possibility of GodTube. The insight and superhuman strength he received there. GodTube is real. The channel of gods that turns S-class hunters into mere extras. There's no point in hampering this opportunity by immediately accepting the offer. But Chloe's incurable disease. Ethan must find a cure at any cost. Long ago, Chloe was caught in an unexpected dungeon breakthrough and suffers from a blood disease. There is no cure for this terrible fate in modern medicine, only symptom relief. But with GodTube, if Ethan gets their traits, he can definitely cure his sister. But the medicinal ingredients used for treatment are very expensive. And since it is a rare disease, Ethan will need a lot of money. In the meantime, I decided to finish editing a video that costs 50 million won. Turning on the recording, the hero remembered Stacy's phrase about 20 billion. Ethan thought about it. What if he made gear and sold it? He could raise billions of dollars in no time. But Ethan only has one subscription left. If he wants an additional subscription, the hero must join, and that's 1 million. There's only one answer. The only way to make a weapon is to study metallurgy. Here it is, the course of Hephaestus. Ethan subscribed to his channel and received the SS class God's Metallurgy. At the lecture, Hephaestus worked hard and said that when you improve a weapon, you shouldn't be afraid of failure. And the bastards of our time have no courage. You have to be prepared for the weapons to be destroyed. Ethan doesn't understand. Why do gods behave like this? However, the hero corrected his incorrect knowledge of metallurgy, and his skill level increased slightly. In the morning, Ethan was doing horizontal bars in his yard. The nurses were discussing how much better the patient's body was. The doctor said his recovery was incredibly fast, even for a hunter. The hero began to eavesdrop. The doctor also said that he could be discharged tomorrow. That's faster than Ethan thought. He'll have to train a lot before he's discharged. Superhuman strength mastery has increased slightly. If the hero uses super strength, his muscle fibers will be destroyed like last time. It's better not to slack off on training. Suddenly, Ethan's sister came up to him. She heard that her brother was being discharged tomorrow. The hero mumbled something in response, and Chloe continued herself. When Ethan came to the hospital, she was so worried because it seemed like he was in serious condition. But the nurses said he had to stay in the hospital for at least a month, and he's being discharged in a week. What a fool. Chloe must be disappointed that her brother is being discharged first. Ethan told her not to shirk treatment just because he's not around. She doesn't have to worry about money, at least not here. Chloe already knows that she is getting free treatment because of Sister Stacy's considerations, Ethan asked in surprise. But Stacy herself told Chloe to call her sister. She said that she doesn't have any younger siblings, but Chloe looks like one of them. Ethan didn't understand anything. He asked if his sister had ever met Stacy before. Chloe replied that of course her sister sometimes comes to visit. The hero was surprised. Why hadn't he seen her? My sister replied that Stacy sometimes comes by when Ethan is training and asks if he's okay before she leaves. Wow. Someone who must be very busy due to the hunter's activities came to visit the hero? Maybe she still wants to recruit him? Chloe excitedly asked if Stacy was doing this because she liked Ethan. No, he didn't think so. But the sister screams that the brother is so popular. The nurses always talk about him. Ethan asks to forget about it, stop saying useless things and quickly go inside. He needs to go somewhere, namely to earn money. In the dungeon, Ethan looked around. Was it because this was his first time hunting monsters? Need to calm down. The hero heard F-rank goblins nearby. Ethan knew the goblins worked in groups, but there were still too many of them. As a result, the hero had no trouble tearing the monsters apart with just a simple movement of his hand. The goblin just exploded. Superhuman strength is greater than the hero thought. The other monsters looked at Ethan in fear, and he just waited for them to approach him. After the raid, the hero brought the goblin corpses to the forge owner and asked how much he could make from them. The owner of the Lucas family forge, Aiden Lucas, asks to do what? He asked Ethan to bring him ingredients, not scraps. Okay, while the blacksmith teaches the hero how to smelt it. The man said to follow him. The hammer is not only power. Aiden spent most of his youth studying metallurgy. And now, 20 years later, when he is already in his 40s, now he is a talented and passionate awakened with A-rank agility. The man says that if you have good materials, that doesn't mean you can easily get A-rank or S-rank equipment. He showed us how. Now it's Ethan's turn. The hero came to the blacksmith recently. He did not ask Aiden to make him equipment or accept him as an apprentice. He didn't even ask the blacksmith to join his guild. In exchange for rent, he was the first to ask Aiden to lend him his workshop. The man allowed it out of curiosity, to find out what the guy's intentions were. Nowadays, people think that metallurgy is an easy skill, like a game. But it took Aiden 20 years to get to the level he's at. What's more, the brat spent all his time looking at his phone. He must have watched too many videos on YouTube and thought it was easy, but he is sorely mistaken. After some time, a representative of the Rain Company, Emily Rain, came to the forge. Aiden asked if it was her. Well, of course, who else but her would come to this forge, where it stinks of sweat? She could have entrusted this to someone else, but she comes herself every time. Emily specified that she was dealing with the best blacksmith in Korea, so of course she had to come in person. As befits a businesswoman, she now even knew how to flatter. Emily asked what kind of flattery she was. She was a representative of the company Rain, which deals only with the best products. Anyway, she brought the ingredients they talked about last time. As for the price, Aiden said it was wrapped in cloth. The blade was sharp. Emily tried to explain that they had decided to supply equipment for the SH group this time, but the noise was too much for her. She yelled and asked Ethan to be quiet. She was trying to talk. Emily wondered what this idiot was doing. The girl looked closely at the blade and asked if Aiden really called it a weapon. The blacksmith asked what she thought. The blade was dull and the shape was rough. Emily asked how anyone could use it. And then Aiden asked in response what the girl would say if it was made of goblin and kobold skeletons. Emily was surprised. Moreover, the material was in worse condition. And it was the man who picked up a hammer for the first time today. Emily wondered if Aiden had taken on an apprenticeship. Well, the man tried to make such an offer. I remember the moment when Ethan first arrived. The sight of our hero's work was too incredible to say that it was the first time he had held a hammer. Either way, Aiden had never seen anyone make weapons out of that material. However, Ethan refused the offer to accept him as an apprentice. Emily became interested. Meanwhile, our hero has finished the weapon. Metallurgy mastery has increased. Even though he managed to do it, Ethan doesn't know how to sell it. Suddenly, a girl came up to him and asked if he was thinking of selling the sword. She extended her hand and introduced herself. The Rain Company, Ethan had heard of it before. A company that specializes in the hunting business, and she considers trust and reliability as her core value. As a result, she is quite famous in the hunting industry. Emily said they only work with the best products in Korea, so if Ethan is thinking about selling, she would like to buy. The hero asked how much the girl could give him, and she said 1,000,000 won per piece. Then, after making a deal with Emily, Ethan started making weapons like crazy. One day, Emily came to the forge and was simply beaming with happiness. Their company officially signed a contract with the SH Group. Ethan said he did a good job. Not just good. From meeting the quantity on time to delivering the equipment with impeccable quality. If it weren't for our hero, Rain would be in big trouble. All thanks to Mr. Carter. Emily says if he needs something, just say so. She'll do whatever it takes to get it for him. Oh yeah, the girl asked Ethan to check his account. The hero looked in surprise and saw the figure 200,801. This was less than he expected. Emily was shocked. What 2,800? She asks to check again. And then Ethan just lost his mind when he saw the amount of 280 million. And at that moment, he became a slave to money. Later, the hero sat and meditated on the amounts on his screen. He can subscribe to a subscription to GodTube to spoil Chloe. Hua Tuo, the legendary physician of ancient China, the divine physician. Hippocrates, the ancient healer who is called the father of medicine. Or Hojong, the best doctor who created the concept of Oriental medicine. Subscription to all three channels costs 300 million won per month. But in the current situation, Ethan can only choose one of these three. The hero couldn't choose, so he closed his eyes and subscribed to one of three channels at random. The next day, Aiden said that there was nothing to be done, since fragile materials were not easy to polish. He suggested simply keeping the polishing to a minimum. Although precision machining can be achieved despite the high brittleness, but this process requires absolute precision. Suddenly, Emily walked in. The blacksmith asked why she kept coming here. The girl replied that she came here because of Master Ethan. Oh, the hero was just waiting for her. Last time, Emily said she could get him everything he needed. The hero handed over a list and asked if it was possible to get it. The list included mountain frankincense, silphium, saxifrage, century ginseng, century runeflower, and soapwort. Ethan asked if they were hard to get. Emily can get some, but it will be expensive. They cost about 300 million won, but the girl can give a discount of 20 million. Ethan needs these materials to improve his mastery of the divine medical art. The hero subscribed to the divine art of Hua Tuo plus class medicine. It is difficult to improve the skill level on your own, because these are medicinal herbs that Ethan doesn't know how to get, and doesn't know if they're for sale. If it weren't for Ms. Rain, he probably would never have gotten them. Emily asked if they were worth buying. Ethan said yes. He received 284 million from her, but he also gave her 280 million and will lose the current balance of 4 million at the end of the month. The subscription is 100 million won. With a subscription due at the end of the month, Ethan needs to make more money now. But even if he earns more by making gear, how can he make hundreds of millions? And then the hero remembered YouTube. The guy on the subway, as always, had nothing to watch. But suddenly he saw a channel of a world conqueror with a hippopotamus strategy. The guy pressed and saw our hero in a hippo costume. Ethan asked if the audience knew that hippos are not water horses. The guy wonders what's wrong with this blogger. What kind of hippopotamus cosplay is that? So the monsters that viewers see now are called hippodons in Korea, or hippopotamuses in other countries. They look like a hippopotamus. The character for a horse is used to represent a hippopotamus. But hippos do not belong to the horse family. The guy didn't even think about the fact that the hieroglyph for horse is used to represent a hippopotamus. So Ethan said that these monsters are actually members of the hippopotamus family. To be precise, to the cetaceans. If we go into details, our head will hurt, so the hero will stop there. In any case, he will show how to conquer a hippopotamus. First, he advises to excite him with a red cloth. Cows don't get nervous from the color red. The main thing is to excite them. Ethan showed the monsters a red rag, and a herd of hippos immediately ran towards him. How to beat a hippo. Second, just hit them and catch them. Is that the whole strategy? Ethan ran towards the monsters and just started attacking them. He ended up standing in a pile of corpses. Still easy, right? Still, we must continue to attack. Ethan delivered a few more blows, accompanying them with funny conversations, and finally finished. He told viewers to like and subscribe if the strategy was helpful. The channel's subscribers rapidly grew by the hundreds, and enthusiastic comments flew in by the dozens. People have been missing this kind of entertaining content for a long time, and Ethan was happy. Everything was as planned. After some time, the number of subscribers exceeded 1,000, and the video gained almost 130,000 views. It seems like the audience really liked the concept of the previous video. This time, the response was good only due to the power of the algorithm. Ethan can't hang around low-class monsters forever. Well, Gotta strike while the iron's hot. As we know, due to our high adaptability, stimulation requires ever greater intensity in order to constantly arouse strong interest. This is Ethan's specialty. After all, analyzing monsters and strategizing is his job. 1 million subscribers is not just a dream, but there is just one problem. The hero's nose suddenly started bleeding, and then his head started spinning. But Ethan has to edit the video. However, he could not keep his balance when sitting on the chair and fell to the floor. The hero worked too much. After some time, Ethan woke up and saw the ceiling of his room. It seemed he had passed out. But still, thanks to Hercules' super strength, everything ended only with the hero fainting. Ethan needs to edit the video quickly. He decided to see how much time had passed and saw that the clock showed 4:30 in the morning. Ethan is shocked that he has been unconscious all day. At this rate, he will die of exhaustion before he earns any money. The hero realized that he had to hire an editor. A couple of hours passed after the ad was published. Ethan didn't think there would be so many applicants. Maybe it's because of the high salary. The application is as hot as an idol audition. Basic salary is 3 million won plus additional incentives depending on the number of views. As expected, money is the best. So Ethan has to choose the one who will bring him more money. He started watching videos of the candidates. The sound effects in this video are appropriate and have a sense of humor. The editing skills are also better than the hero. But Ethan doesn't understand why this candidate still hasn't come. He definitely said his name was Tracy Jace. The hero made an appointment with the guy for 1 o'clock in the afternoon at a cafe, and the guy just replied, "Okay." Not only the name, but also the way he speaks. Isn't he a middle-aged man? Even better, he might be experienced. Ethan wrote to the candidate and asked where he was. But he doesn't read the message. Is he really in a hurry here? Did the hero decide to wait a little longer at first? And then I couldn't take it anymore. What a bastard. And suddenly a man flies in, apologizing for being late. The girl is here for an interview with the editor. She came up to the hero and asked if he was Ethan Carter. The hero was shocked. By the name Tracy, he thought it was a man. In any case, Ethan asked why she was late and did not even read the message. Tracy replied that she had been up late editing a video and had forgotten to pack a lunchbox for her little brother's picnic. And she couldn't read the message because she was running here. She edited the video attached to her application. So Tracy edited the video Ethan provided in just 1 day. The girl clarified that actually it wasn't a day, but about 3 o'clock. The hero suddenly fell silent. Tracy doesn't understand what's wrong with him. Suddenly Ethan said her name and the girl was already pressed into the chair in fear. The hero smiled and asked when Tracy could start work. She replied, "Right now." It usually takes Ethan 8 hours to edit a video, but this one takes 3 hours. How much will it cost? As stated in the ad, 2 videos per week is the standard. Sometimes the hero uploads 3 videos, but of course he would pay extra accordingly. Ethan extended his hand and told the editor that he would be under her supervision from now on. Tracy replied that she would work hard, but suddenly they saw people running at breakneck speed through the window. A dungeon breach has occurred. It has been determined to be a C-rank event. Residents of nearby buildings must evacuate. Tracy yells at her boss that they should evacuate too. And Ethan asks again. She said she could work right now. He gave her a phone and told her to follow him. The girl asked, confused, where they were going. And what does Tracy think? Where? To earn money. Ethan ran towards the breakthrough and shouted at the girl to turn on the video. Several huge ogres emerged from the portal. The hero killed all the monsters with his usual funny phrases. He told his subscribers to like and subscribe. And don't forget about notifications. I wonder if it's possible to start earning real money now. The security services tried to disperse the people, but when they raised their heads, they were shocked. There was an unknown guy standing on a mountain of monster corpses. Ethan looked at the camera again and said to like and subscribe. Tracy is at home watching the video again. She doesn't understand what the hell it is and why he's popular. People write to see how stunned the dispersed guards are. But is it really possible to smash a C-rank orc's head in like that, with bare hands? Tracy made Edith a video of Ethan, but she just doesn't get it. But she knows one thing for sure. Her boss is a real noob psycho. Will the girl be able to succeed? Suddenly the little ones ran up to Tracy shouting that the chicken was so delicious. They left some for her too. The boy and girl started arguing over food. Tracy smiled and made everything clear to herself. We need to work hard at least for the sake of her younger brothers and sisters. Ethan finished the gear he made from the orc jester he salvaged from the dungeon. Unlike the previous ones, it is made from materials obtained from C-class monsters, so the hero can hope for all of this. Metallurgy mastery increased. The system wrote that Ethan created equipment that is worth giving away for free. But still, his skill increased to 1.4%. Considering how much it increased, this is an incredible number. Emily and Aiden say that Ethan's gear gets better with time. The blacksmith doesn't understand. How could this happen to someone who started working out less than a month ago? Ethan says he still has a long way to go. Emily asks if the hero is going to sell the sword. Of course, she knows how to sell it for the highest price. By the way, the girl said that Ethan looks much better now. At that time, his bags under his eyes reached the very end. Now the hero lives like a human, not a zombie. Since Tracy started editing his videos, he actually has more time to sleep, even though Ethan is still busy. Although last time, after she was paid the hazard pay, he had little room left for personnel expenses. Still, helping to film a video isn't an editor's job, so Ethan really should pay Tracy that much. The hero has no complaints about her editing skills since she tries so hard. Ethan is very grateful to her. Oh yeah, he asked Miss Rain what was going on with the medicinal herbs he asked for last time. Of course, the girl got everything. This was Ethan's first request. The hero was shocked that she had already succeeded. It was incredible. Of course, Emily Products sells only the best goods from Korea. And what does this have to do with it? Ethan asked how much it was from him. The girl started counting. The total amount was 212.44 million won. It was a huge amount. But since it was Ethan's request, Emily will give a discount and set the price at 200 million won. Next time he won't give a discount. The girl asked where the hero would put so many medicinal herbs. He replied in confusion that it was for clinical trials. After that, Ethan began to listen to the lecture of the miraculous healer, Hua Tuo. Herbal medicine refers to purified natural medicines obtained from animal, plant, or mineral sources. Its forms are mainly divided into decoctions, powders, tablets, creams. These are the most common forms. This video will talk about herbs. Herbs have medicinal effects that extend to the roots, stems, bark, fruits, and seeds. How much water? At this rate, Ethan won't be able to improve his mastery of the divine art of medicine. Increased mastery of the wrong skill, namely insight. In simple terms, it refers to the study of medicinal herbs used to treat diseases, and also studying and gaining knowledge about their actions. But Ethan does not understand why Huatuo complicates such simple words. After the lecture, I prepared a decoction that can be useful for the body. Divine Medical Arts proficiency level has increased slightly. Ethan looks at this iron goo and wonders if it's really edible. Saying that it can be good for the body, doesn't that mean it can be harmful? It's worth a try. It's just a potion brewed with a skill. It can't kill the hero. However, after taking a sip, Ethan fell to the ground, spilling everything. He cried for the money he paid for the herbs. Suddenly, a notification came on my phone. The hero consumed a decoction that could be useful for his body. Superpower mastery increased slightly. Ethan was surprised. It hadn't even been 3 seconds. He thought, maybe he should lick the potion off the floor. Later, the hero went to the dungeon. Vampire bats are E+ rank monsters from the bat family. There are a few reasons why Ethan came here. First, to make a video about our bats rats. Secondly, get loot to craft gear. And finally, study the vampire bat disease. Since they live in small groups of at least several dozen, if not hundreds of individuals, all sorts of diseases live among them. But it is interesting that bats themselves are not susceptible to diseases. If they carry diseases, possibly related to blood diseases, finding out why they are also resistant to them may provide clues to treating Chloe's blood disorder. It won't be easy, but with the divine art of medicine, it will be possible. Ethan senses something. These aren't bats. These are someone's tracks. Ethan looked down and saw those same people. These are Kai Barton's lackeys. How did they get here? As long as Ethan is assigned a dungeon in the Hunter Management Bureau, other hunters cannot enter. Of course, although there are sometimes cases of coincidence, did the hero really just stumble upon Kai's lackeys by accident? These guys must be C-class hunters, so what are they doing in an E+ dungeon? Looks like they're after Ethan. The dungeon is an isolated space without internet or communication networks. This means you won't even know if someone has died or not. What should Ethan do? But why should he think about it? He'll find out when he takes these guys down. Kai's lackeys. Class C hunters Kevin and Tom discuss whether that bastard Ethan really got in. Sean is sure he saw him get in. But for some reason they don't see him. The guys thought, maybe he died. Yeah, that bastard was a useless awakened one who is worse than F-class. How confident is Ethan entering this dungeon alone? Although it makes things easier for the boys. Sean slightly disagrees. I don't know about the rest, but Ethan was smart. He had to come up with a strategy to deal with the vampire bats. And yet, after watching his video, it doesn't seem like he trusts his strategy alone. Kevin is shocked that the guys believe in it. Anyone can say that this is either manipulation or CG editing. It's ridiculous. Even this place could be just a decoration and not a dungeon. Suddenly, Ethan snuck up behind Kevin, grabbed him, and asked where Kai was. The guy didn't even feel him approaching. Well, the hero didn't think that he would say it so simply, and Ethan hoped that the guy wouldn't answer him. The guys were dumbfounded. They asked if Ethan really decided to fight them. Kevin screamed that the useless idiot couldn't do anything and started running towards the hero. However, with one blow of his hand, Ethan threw the guy far back. The hero pinned Kevin to the ground with his foot and said he could do something like this. Ethan hit him on the head, so -1. Then the hero quickly dealt with the one who tried to yelp something. Sean got scared and promised to tell everything. However, Ethan replied that he was not inclined to trust the words of a man with intact limbs. The hero slightly decorated Sean's face. So Kai ordered the guys to teach our hero a good lesson. Ethan asks if he should drop the badges of honor, but Sean yells no, that's right. However, he does not know why Kai did this and is interested in Ethan. The hero threatened with his fist, but the guy really doesn't know anything. Ethan asked where Kai was, but then told him to forget about it. Let him take his buddies and get out of here. Sean was surprised because he thought they were dead, but it turns out the hero didn't kill them. Ethan ordered to go and tell Kai that next time the same thing would happen to him. Sean looked at the hero in confusion, then Ethan gave him a couple more punches. So Kai came to the old warehouse and saw his guys there, crippled and in casts, and Ethan with them. They haven't seen each other for a long time. A month has passed. The guys shout that this is a misunderstanding. Ethan ordered them, it's not fair to them. The hero hugs Sean and says his plan to lure Kai was brilliant. The guy screams that he was set up. Then Ethan added that his request to kill that idiot Kai, he will definitely fulfill it. Sean ran away in fear, apologizing to the boss, and with him, the other two. Now Kai was alone. That's why he had to treat his subordinates well. How badly Kai treated them, if they personally asked to kill him. The guy can't believe it. He asks how an E-rank hunter like Ethan can have such power. The hero is not sure. Just in time. He asked to be allowed to ask one thing. Why is Kai doing this to him? The guy responded by asking if there was a reason he should tell Ethan. Of course not. After that, the hero attacked Kai with his fists. He added that he does not trust the words of a person with intact limbs. Kai is certainly different, but still, you have to take into account that he is a B-class hunter. Kai began to swing his sword, but Ethan deftly dodged it. Our hero's reaction time is better than the guy thought. Honestly, Ethan is scared, although even a decent blow can break the sword. But it seems like the hero still lacks the skill to block a B-rank hunter's sword. Kai's attacks are fast but simple, and Ethan can dodge them. Suddenly, the hero remembered the past times when he worked for him as an editor. He was treated like a slave in a dungeon and beaten for trifles. Ethan has captured Kai hunting monsters countless times on camera. He has watched it hundreds of times. While editing his video all this time, the hero constantly analyzed his habits, inclinations, and behavior. His insight increased, and Ethan continued to deftly dodge each one. Kai doesn't understand what's going on. It's as if Ethan is reading his mind. But that can't be. He's a B-rank hunter, and the hero is only an E+ rank hunter. How can Ethan have something that can only be seen on an S-rank hunter? The hero managed to knock Kai down. The boy began to shake. Doubts were eating away at his confidence. Kai has been studying Ethan's strength through videos on YouTube, but he can't believe it. Kai shouts that he will kill the hero and activates the Aura Sword. So this bastard is giving it his all. Now that it's come to this, Ethan has no choice. He'll give it his all too. His muscles are torn. The hero won't be able to hold on for long, so you have to give it your all right this second. Ethan jumped off the ground and attacked in such a way that a huge explosion was created. An inspection team arrived at the scene. The girl ordered to close the area and check if there was anyone inside. The inspection bureau makes its way through the collapses and asks if anyone is there. The girl approached the hero and asked if he was the hunter Ethan Carter. The hero, holding his sword over the unconscious Kai, answered yes. The girl is Casey Wang, commander of the 4th Squad of Guards at the Inspection Bureau. She asks to go with them to the bureau. During interrogation, Ethan revealed that a hunter named Kai Barton had tried to kill him. The hero provided a video as evidence. Casey confirmed the video. It's certainly not something you can easily miss, but Hunter Ethan Carter is billed as a traitless awakener. Guardsmen. They are the police who protect hunters. But in other words, they hunt criminal hunters. Killers of people. Ethan heard that the squad leaders are appointed from hunters of at least A class. Casey's aura really does look like a killer. The hero asked if the trait rank is related to the hunter rank. The girl knows that Ethan is also an E+ rank. Yes, that's true. But Ethan asked if there was a reason he had to answer that question. He's the victim here. Casey apologizes. Because of his job, he has a habit of suspecting people. Then, based on the video footage of the Argali dungeon and the abandoned construction site, the Bureau will handle this properly. Kai may never see the sun again. Casey offered to end the investigation there and thanked him for his cooperation. Ethan left the office. A colleague ran in. She was surprised that the squad leader was inside. Ethan had just left, and she thought Casey wouldn't be here. Strange. Casey suddenly asked what rank Layla was now. The girl asked why the leader was asking her about this. She had recently been promoted to B rank. Suddenly, under the pressure of Casey's aura, Layla fell to the ground. As expected, she can't stand it. Layla asks if it's not obvious. The squad leader is no ordinary guard, and there's even talk that Casey will be promoted to S rank, human butcher. She said Ethan didn't feel a thing. Layla was very surprised because this guy is an E+ rank hunter. Casey herself is perplexed. If that's the case, why did the leader just send him away? It's serious if hunters hide their rank. Casey replied that it was because Ethan wasn't weird. He smelled human. The leader left, and Layla was left alone with all the questions. What kind of nonsense was that? Ethan is glad it's over, but he doesn't know when it might happen again. If his YouTube channel gets more famous, he could become a target for a criminal organization. At Ethan's level now, even Kai is difficult. Without the synergy of knowledge of Kai's behavior patterns and habits, and without insight, the hero would have died much earlier. If you think about the upcoming difficulties, the most important thing here is superpower, but it's not increasing. It's unclear why it's still at 1%. Ethan recently won a one-on-one training session with Hercules for reaching 1 follower. It's very strange that Hercules still has 1 subscriber. It seemed that winning was worth it after all. The hero began his private lesson the next morning. Hercules asked in surprise how there could be a human on his channel. Ethan asked if it wouldn't work then. Hercules hesitated. At this rate, he wouldn't be able to give the boy a personal training session himself. Then Ethan thought that he couldn't accept, but that's not the point. As the demigod had already said, he couldn't go to where the boy was, so he can't give him a one-on-one face-to-face training session. Just think how Ethan got connected to GodTube. And what about that blonde guy who left him the smartphone? And that white-haired guy the blonde guy fought with. But even if Hercules couldn't fix the boy's posture himself, he could at least teach him this. He offered to start right away. For example, they will pull and tear off the horns of the Minotaur in one fell swoop. Hercules cannot lose his precious subscriber. Right now, Ethan's body balance is a complete mess, especially the back muscles. The hamstrings refer to the muscles on the back side of the body, and the back muscles are one part of them. Hercules shows lat, then back, trapezius, triceps, brachioradialis. Ethan learned about perfect muscles, super strength increased. As the hero sees it, there are different types of back muscles, and since they are all on the back, Ethan cannot see them. This often leads to forgetting their importance. But Hercules says that these muscles are extremely important. Namely, for the overall balance of the body when you need to make bold movements. Ethan asked what that was just now. Oh, it's called divine martial arts. Hercules created it. Nothing special, but he collected all his fighting methods into one and systematized them. This is the one that Hercules used when he crushed the Hydra. He hit it in the middle of its head and killed it instantly. In any case, the muscles of the back of the body are also important in these techniques. The lower body is the pillar that supports everything. Hercules asked what would happen if the pillars fell while the building was being built. Ethan replied that the building would, of course, collapse. True, the same thing happens with the body. Hercules broke the earth with his foot. Ethan mastered the physical science of super strength. In this, the demigod will tell about the method of exercises that is suitable for the hero, so he said to watch and repeat. The basics of breathing are to exhale when you leave the ground. This point is much more normal than Ethan thought. But Hercules says that the hero doesn't care about breathing and stuff, he just exhales. Ethan asks why. Let him look at himself before he speaks. It's important that an anchovy like Ethan just does it without asking. The hero did the exercises and improved his skill. Later, he sends Tracy a video, the concept of which is a speed run. He leaves the editing to her. The boss is a good man, but a little unusual. I wonder what strategy he has developed this time. The girl turned on the video. There, Ethan greets everyone in a bat costume. The cave behind is inhabited by vampire bats. And why is he here, viewers will ask? To show new content for the channel Conqueror of the World. This is nothing more than a speedrun raid. If Tracy chooses an editing point here, adds sound and effects. And yet, why did Ethan need to film vampire bats? They are numerous and live in harsh conditions with poor visibility. And that makes it hard to film a speedrun. But then again, it's really how Ethan gets attention. After investigation, it was discovered that the current best record is 58 seconds, set by S-rank hunter Brittany from the Fire Witch channel. In this video, Ethan will try to break this record. Speedrun raid of the World Conqueror on vampire bats. For this part, Tracy will edit the timer. She was surprised. Did Ethan suddenly start doing gymnastics? The hero announced a banquet challenge. He kicked the ground hard. Tracy wonders if it's possible to collapse the dungeon. Ethan remembered that he had to get ingredients. But still, the raid is complete. The girl doesn't understand what the hell she just watched. But still, since Ethan is a good person, the hero is pleased with the statistics of the latest video on the channel. By the way, Brittany from the Fire Witch channel with 41 million subscribers left a comment herself. It is clear that she came running in panic when she heard the news that she had been stripped of her first place. The fact that the Fire Witch wrote the comment herself already had such an effect. But if they ever do collab, 1 million viewers are guaranteed. We need to calm down. At times like these, Ethan has to make even more provocative videos. He decided to check the current level of superpower. After receiving personal training from Hercules, the skill that had never increased even surpassed 2%. Ethan can already destroy a dungeon with vampire bats at 2%. If it gets any bigger, Hercules was telling about divine martial arts. The hero decided to try asking him to teach it. However, the demigod refused. Ethan offered to teach him during individual training, but still no. The hero reminded him that he had won. Hercules replied that they were different things. Individual training was one thing, and divine martial arts were quite another. Even the names are different. Moreover, for an anchovy like Ethan, building muscle is not the only problem. Because divine martial arts is a method that Hercules created to match his strength. Without the superpower he uses, the guy can't use them. But Ethan uses his superpower. Hercules indignantly asked if he was really using his superpower. The hero replied that yes, the teacher was currently conducting an individual training session. Hercules replied that it was just a private lesson and not to learn his superpower. Ethan is confused. He studied it. The demigod can't believe it. Can't god traits be learned on GodTube? Or isn't what the hero learned Hercules' superpower? Hercules leaned forward and pressed down on Ethan, but he didn't even move. So he learned superpowers because he subscribed to the channel. It seems the same applies to the channel of other gods. Ethan replied that it was all true, and asked if it was weird. Hercules replied that of course it was. It's crazy that a guy gets the power of gods if he subscribes to their channels. However, it worked with Ethan. Hercules thought about it and asked how he connected to GodTube. After all, the guy is definitely a man without divinity. Because Ethan opened up this possibility. He told how it all happened. Hercules thinks that the two guys Ethan met are from GodTube. But can people from there come here? Hercules said that he himself could not come here. As the hero said, this dimension and their dimension cannot interfere with each other. Furthermore, Ethan said that his GodTube account was a manager account. Then one of those guys was a manager. Hercules knows a few, but still, Ethan shouldn't get the power of the gods just because he signed up with a manager account. If this were possible, managers would become the gods of the universe. However, Hercules is confident that Ethan has received his superpower. The hero asks to be accepted as his student, but the demigod still refused because it was troublesome. Even though Ethan learned superpowers, they are two different things. Even giving individual training is troublesome enough. And the hero wants to add divine martial arts to this. Hercules is against it. Then Ethan decided to ask one thing. What do subscribers mean on GodTube? Hercules replied that the guy could understand it as an element of divinity. Does this mean that the more followers you have, the higher your godly status? Ethan isn't quite sure what that means. But in general, the more the better. That's probably why Hercules continues to give private lessons, even though it's annoying. In other words, followers are the only thing he cares about besides muscles. So Ethan made a suggestion. If he gets 100 subscribers to Hercules' channel, he will teach him divine martial arts. The demigod doesn't understand how the guy will do this. He can't even come here. Then Ethan suggested that Hercules trust him this time, After some time, the half-god received as many as 127 subscribers. Hercules came to Ethan and said that from today on, he would become his faithful servant. In the future, the hero will tell him about interesting ideas for video content, but the demigod must teach him divine martial arts. But Ethan asked what the number of followers actually means. You could say it's a form of trust. Divine status is formed through the trust of others. Therefore, the more people know about the gods, the stronger they become. It's complicated. As Ethan discovered, godhood increases as your followers increase. In any case, Hercules will teach him martial arts. And before that, he asked him to speak calmly, like before. Then Hercules suggested to begin. So the first thing Ethan must do to learn martial arts, to be precise, the muscles that need to be trained first are none other than the muscles of the brain. In any case, demonstration is better than explanation. Suddenly, Ethan's head started to throb really badly. What's going on? The hero can't see Hercules move in any frame. And then there's this crazy feeling of pressure. So Ethan learned divine martial arts. The mastery of superpower has increased by more than 1%, although before it had practically not increased. Moreover, SSS rank. As Ethan himself sees, he can't handle it. Hercules says this cautiously, but maybe the hero's soul level is still insufficient. If he uses martial arts in this state, his mind will be destroyed first. He must develop his brain muscles first. In other words, what Hercules meant by brain muscles is the soul level. More intuitively, mental strength. So, Ethan needs a strong psyche to cope with divine martial arts. Hercules could have just said it from the start. The hero asked if he could learn it. The demigod hesitated. Normally this would be impossible, but perhaps if it was Ethan, it was possible. And all because he can obtain the power of the gods. That is, it is desirable to obtain the power of gods who specialize in mental power, one that can support the extraordinary strength of Hercules. There are different ones, Jesus, Buddha. But Hercules recommends the channel of Master Conf. He means Confucius. Ethan is shocked. So he has to subscribe to the channel and pay this crazy monthly fee. Now Ethan has a balance of 153 million. The subscription to Hua Tuo's channel was 100 million. That's a whole billion a month. Well, at that rate, it's absurdly unprofitable. Is it worth it? Ethan doesn't know if this is really right. Emily came to the forge happily. She brought the ogre tendon that the hero wanted. Ethan asked how much, almost with tears in his eyes. Emily replied that it was exactly 113 million. Ethan bitterly transferred the money to her, but he asked what he was going to use the tendon for. The hero replied that he was going to make equipment this time. The ogre is an A+ rank monster, so Ethan can't hunt it himself yet. Still, if he wants to learn divine martial arts, he needs 1,000,000,001, so he needs to use good materials to make good equipment and sell it. Ethan can also practice using the gear for himself. When will he make it for himself? Money is his enemy, his eternal enemy. Well, the hero decided to start. Aiden saw Emily frozen and asked what brought her here. However, when he saw Ethan's work, he, like her, couldn't take his eyes off it. Despite the fact that the hero gave it his all, it was still a one-time product, but the metallurgy skill increased by 5%. Aiden ran up in shock, asking how Ethan did it. The hero asked Emily how much it could be sold for. The girl was surprised. It was beyond her capabilities. There was no one among her clients who could buy equipment of such a level. There's no point in making this glove if Ethan can't sell it. If the hero subscribes to Confucius, pays for the subscription to Hua Tuo, and pays for Chloe's medicine, Ethan asked Emily not to worry and sell the item for him. It was a one-time item anyway. Since the hero has trusted her, she will do everything possible. The girl playfully asked if she could take Aiden's name. She is thinking of putting this item up for auction. In just a few days, people have gathered in the hall. The host introduces the next lot, equipment that even Master Aiden Lucas couldn't help but admire. People started whispering, "This is a blacksmith recognized by Aurelian." So the next lot is a pair of high-quality gloves. They are made from ogre sinew, which makes them extremely durable. This means that you don't have to worry about them breaking. The presenter asks you not to be surprised, but perhaps because they are made from the tendons of an A-rank monster, the evaluation result shows that they are capable of enhancing the owner's power. People were amazed, because only Master Aurelian can make enchanted equipment. Unfortunately, this is not enchanted equipment. They say the boost is very small, about 5%, but it is still a special effect equipment. The gloves are effective as an auxiliary equipment. Judging by the guests' reactions, it looks like the host will be beaten to death if she drags on, so let's get started. The starting price was 10 million, with a subsequent increase of 5 million. Bids flew one after another. Thus, the price quickly reached 350 million won. The host asks if there is a higher bid. And then Stacy Knox raises the sign with her bet of 2 billion. The presenter asks, confused, if there is a higher bet. But then Cassie Wang holds up the sign. She offers 2.1 billion. The girl gets irritated when she hears people talking about her, Cassie the butcher. Then Stacy bets 3 billion. Cassie angrily bets 3.1 billion. But then Stacy decides to bet 4 billion. The host starts the countdown. And in the end, the product was sold for 4 billion. Emily was amazed. She never thought that gloves could sell for so much. Ethan saw his balance and thought this was crazy. The winning bet was 4 billion. But even after excluding the 5% auction commission, tax, and service fee passed on to Emily, 3 and 6 billion. Ethan hugged Emily tightly, screaming that he loved her. The girl asks to wait a minute. The guy is so strong that she can't breathe. Ethan immediately lets her go. Probably got too excited. Now the hero would gladly give Emily something for her troubles. The girl refuses. He has already paid her for her services. First of all, thanks to Ethan, her company became a VIP person in the auction house. Now Mr. Lucas, Aiden is against it too. Ethan did it anyway. Then the hero will teach him to beat the Allegro rhythm, which he recently learned in the Hephaestus video. There is also a 4-beat rhythm. Ethan subscribed to Confucius's channel. If he wants to learn divine martial arts, he must subscribe. The hero repeats to himself that he can't be stingy, but this is a lot of damn money. With tears in his eyes, but Ethan did it. The hero brought his sister to a restaurant. Chloe says that this place is expensive. She doesn't have to eat there. Ethan said they should try something like this at least once in their lives. 600,000 won per person. Who cares when the hero still has 2.6 billion in his account? Now the channel subscriptions will be 1.1 billion. Ethan needs to stop thinking about this. He thinks he'll just watch GodTube until the food arrives. Having entered Confucius's channel, the hero saw that he had 34,000 subscribers. That's a lot. Did all of Confucius's students subscribe to his channel? So school networks exist on GodTube too. Hercules said that learning divine martial arts requires brain muscles, so Ethan thought it would be SSS rank. Considering that it is not a combat work, SSS rank means that it is a higher rank than divine martial arts. Ethan needs to improve his skill level, so he should watch the video first and get a better understanding of it. In his lecture, Confucius says that a gentleman is a person who cares and looks after those around him. Ethan feels it, a feeling of extreme boredom. But still, he has mastered Confucianism, benevolence, righteousness, propriety, and gentlemanly wisdom. Later, the hero told Hercules that although he had acquired the brain muscles of Master Confucius, he had not acquired them completely. As he said before, martial arts is not something that can be used at Ethan's level. It's like changing the laws of the world. It's not just using superpowers. Ethan will draw mana by concentrating on veins and pressure points, and mana is the source of existence. To use it more actively, you need the organs of amplification, which projects intention and facilitates its impact on Manu. The Eastern gods call it the center of Qi. Ethan probably thinks this is so boring and wonders, what the hell is he talking about? Hercules says that the boy wants to gain this power, not learn these complex concepts. Even if Ethan wants to say no, Hercules doesn't think he can. As expected, the hero agrees. Hercules came up with a way to help the boy master divine martial arts more easily. The answer lies in his muscles. If the body is in bad shape, then the head will suffer. And Ethan thought it was the other way around. The hero will learn complex concepts on his own as he builds up his muscles. Hercules said to leave the knowledge that causes headaches to your muscles. At the SH Group headquarters, Stacy met her grandfather. He heard that she had bought equipment this time. Yes, the girl was very pleased even though it cost 4 billion. Although it cannot be compared with the sword of Master Aurelian, but it's a great piece of equipment to have around. Stacy feels like her skills have been taken to a whole new level. Well, Trayson is glad to hear it. If his granddaughter needs anything, he asks her to tell him. Stacy thinks they can start raiding S-rank dungeon. And Ethan was desperate. He couldn't even keep track. Divine martial arts. He had yet to learn them properly. The hero can't level up like that. Can he even? He turned on the lecture. Confucius was asked if there was a way to not lose a fight that could never be won. The master replied that there was. We must never end this fight, Ethan thought. Hercules was once a man. He is a hero who surpassed a god in human form. Wouldn't Hercules have made an effort? Wouldn't he have struggled? Wouldn't he be disappointed? Divine martial arts are a power that makes one doubt that a human can achieve it. It's not just the art of fighting. Ethan is not talented. so what he needs now is endless effort. The hero concentrated. An unbending will permeates his body. Confucius's level of skill is rising. Ethan looked up and saw that he had punched a hole in the ground and trees. He had mastered the divine martial art. It looks like the hero needs to find a private training center. He has no idea how much money it would take to pay compensation for this. Later, Ethan sent Tracy the same video of the vampire bat as last time. Fire Witch broke the boss's record on her channel and took first place again. An incredible record of 11 seconds. The attack was over as quickly as it had begun. And yet, the fact that Ethan had made a video with the same concept. Tracy opened it. The hero in the witch costume introduced himself as always. He heard that not long ago a new record was set on the Fire Witch channel. 11 seconds is a truly incredible record, so today Ethan will try to beat Miss Brittany. Now he'll show you how to do it. The audience is probably wondering why he suddenly targeted her. If Ethan actually tries to target her, he'll probably get fried. There's no way he's going to do that unprepared. So today the hero will tell the strategy how to defeat Miss Brittany, who took first place. Now enough of this silly talk, let's get started. Ethan kicked his leg and the video cut off. Tracy turned on the second one. He kicked the ground and it broke. Oh, now that the hero thinks about it, he could have trained in the dungeon. Tracy wonders what she's looking at. She was shocked that the video was 4 seconds long. Thanks to the divine martial art, the number of views and comments increased dramatically. At this rate, earning hundreds of millions will no longer be a dream. By the way, people are writing that Stacy failed the raid in the dungeon. However, when Ethan started reading the comments, she realized that these were just rumors. But the hero found articles about it and opened them to check. Reporters surrounded Stacy, asking what the future of the SH group was after they failed the S-rank dungeon raid. Fortunately, there were no casualties, but the SH group had recently invested heavily in the hunting industry and was dreaming of entering the market. But this incident put an end to that. But what does this have to do with Ethan? He doesn't have time to worry about Stacy because he's busy with his own things. He decided to figure it out himself. On the top floor of the headquarters, Stacy met her aunt. Principal Luna Knox says they haven't seen each other in a while and asks how Stacy is. The woman asked if the girl was returning after meeting with the chairman. Stacy said yes. Luna must have come to see him too. The chairman called a meeting of the executives. The company is in total disarray. Not only have their stock prices plummeted, but investments are being withdrawn as well. But Luna reassures Stacy that it's not her fault. It's their fault for expecting too much. Luna said that the girl could go, otherwise she would run into her brothers. Meanwhile, Ethan brought his sister his bitter concoction. But still, his skills in the art of medicine are constantly growing. This is more edible than last time. After studying the gentleman's mind, all the characteristics began to improve. Not only martial arts, but also super strength, insight, and divine metallurgy. Insight has increased the most because it is linked to all the other stats. The skilled gentleman's mind is not rank SSS for nothing. Chloe's complexion is definitely improving. It's effective. If Ethan continues to perfect the art of medicine, he is confident that he can cure Chloe's illness. The problem is money. To pay for a monthly subscription to Hua Tuo and Confucius, the 1.7 billion that the hero has now is far from enough. It would be great if he could sell this concoction, but medicinal drugs cannot be sold thoughtlessly without special medical certification. Ethan thought he'd have to ask Ms. Rain. Suddenly someone knocked. The man asked if this was the residence of Mr. Ethan Carter. He is the personal secretary of Mrs. Stacy Knox, Logan Starr. The man said that the young lady wanted to go through the dungeon again. That is, she wants to go through the dungeon again, and she needs Ethan's help. Stacy asks to think of a strategy. More importantly, the hero asked what happened in the dungeon. Logan apologized, but he himself did not hear the details. Stacy only said that Ethan's help was absolutely necessary. The young lady wanted to come in person. But since many are watching her, she asked to forgive her and at least talk to her. Ethan smells it. The sweet smell of NewTube and millions of views. Stacy was working out in the headquarters gym. The hero saw that she was wearing the gloves he had made. Logan said he would call her, but Ethan suggested they wait for now. Trance training. Training with this level of concentration can give a lot. The hero had a similar experience some time ago. Ethan may have to wait a little while, but Miss Knox may have an opportunity that doesn't come around often. The hero watches her. The girl's movements are definitely not systematic. Maybe because Ethan's understanding has improved after learning the skills. What Stacy does is nothing more than random hand movements. Moreover, she has not learned how to wield a sword properly. One of Stacy's traits is her talent as an S-class swordsman, but she is overshadowed by her rudeness. It's as if she can use superpowers like Ethan. But Stacy has not learned the divine martial arts to systematically use this power. Swordsmanship based on brutality will eventually show its limitations. If Stacy learns proper martial arts, she can grow significantly. The only way for her to grow is to join the cult as a disciple. But why does Stacy need this? The SH group won't allow it anyway. Apparently, a good past isn't always useful. However, at Stacy's level, Ethan thinks she will be able to maintain the martial arts she learned on GodTube. King Arthur, the legendary knight of the Round Table, owner of the divine sword Balmung, Siegfried the Dragon Slayer, Shang Yu, an invader with tens of thousands of men. Although the video is a little crazy, but what if Stacy could learn their martial arts? But he can't watch GodTube, so she can't even learn them. Suddenly, Ethan had an epiphany. He can just watch the video and teach her. Although the hero needs to pay for a subscription to their channels, he can get money from Stacy. No matter 1 billion or 10 billion, it doesn't matter to the granddaughter of the SH group. Ethan might even get tuition fees. This is a great deal. Stacy's money power. However, the problem is whether she, an A-rank hunter, will take lessons from Ethan, a D-rank hunter. Moreover, the hero can only teach her what he has learned himself. Is it possible to teach a divine martial art by learning it yourself? Still, if Ethan gave in like that, it would all be for nothing. Stacy came over. He should have told her he was here. Logan apologized and replied that Ethan didn't mean to interrupt her training. Stacy, wiping away sweat with a towel, looked at the hero, which made him blush. The girl ran to wash herself and Ethan only thought about how beautiful she was. So they sat down to talk. Stacy felt awkward. The hero had waited so long, but more importantly, she needed help. Ethan asked what happened in the dungeon. The girl replied that there was no monster in the dungeon. When she entered the dungeon with her comrades, there were no monsters there, but they did come across one monster. Ethan is puzzled. So there was a monster after all. Yes, but although he looked like a wolf, it was hard to call him a monster. Stacy had never seen anything like it. The wolf family's monsters are quite diverse. However, as far as Ethan knows, wolf monsters do not appear in S-rank dungeons. Stacy, with shaking hands, says that she couldn't do anything against this monster. Even though the dungeon is S-rank, with her A+ rank strength, she shouldn't say something like that. Stacy couldn't handle the monster. Moreover, she did not participate in this raid alone. She was accompanied by talented team members with incredible equipment, and they still failed. This was more than they could handle. To sum it up, there was only one monster in the dungeon. And it was so strong that even an A-rank hunter couldn't handle it. The dungeon rank is determined based on the total amount of mana, so there were almost no cases where the rank was determined by a single monster. However, such rare cases do exist. Mutation. A concept different from mutation is a capo monster, a monster that possesses all the mana in the dungeon. If they were facing that, it would make sense why Stacy would say she couldn't handle it. A capo monster is dangerous. Worse, it was S-rank. Ethan told the girl what she was facing. However, this is the first time Stacy hears about the capo monster. The hero thinks it is better to abandon this dungeon. Ethan asks if there is a reason to go through it again. It's not that important, and the girl could die. However, she replied that she had to, and the hero asked why. Stacy said that she was not the only one with problems. Due to the failure of her raid, the SH group suffered heavy losses. Ethan heard that hundreds of billions of won had disappeared in just a few minutes after the article was published. To prevent further share price volatility, Stacy must fix this and fast. Sure, it's life-threatening, but trillions of won are worth risking your life. Capo Monster S-Class, a new monster that has not existed before, it will not be easy. Ethan understands everything. In return, he has a condition. The hero asked Stacy to allow him to film on YouTube, and another 10 billion. He can't go lower than that. So Ethan got an advance of 1 billion. I should have asked for more. Who would have thought that Stacy would agree so easily? The hero tries to forget. Don't be too greedy. 10 billion is already a lot of money. Ethan isn't even sure he can come up with a strategy. If he asks for too much, it will be a burden. However, his insight level is 24%. Can't a hero analyze a S-rank capo monster? No, he can, at any cost. The next day, Ethan and Stacy moved into the dungeon. She said she would lead. The girl allowed the hero to go into the S-rank dungeon on the condition that she would accompany him. Honestly, it's very dangerous. Ethan didn't want to go himself, but he needed to know what was inside to strategize. Moreover, since he has super strength and martial arts, even if he is not confident in winning the capo monster, He is confident that he will survive. As expected, the atmosphere is definitely different from the lower rank dungeons. Thus, Stacy ate Ethan further, deeper into the dungeon. The hero looked at her and asked if these gloves didn't suit her. The girl replied that they didn't suit her a little. Then Ethan asked to be allowed to adjust them. He didn't know who would use them, so I made it on the cut of my hands. Even though they weren't going to be removed, it must have been very uncomfortable. The hero pressed the button, and the gloves fit Stacy's hands like a second skin. Let her consider it a favor. She asked how Ethan knew this feature existed. He admitted that he made them. So, the man whom Master Lucas recognized is him, but the hero does not know about it. He just works in the same workshop with him. Suddenly, a roar was heard in the distance. The guys felt the strongest energy, and it was different. On a completely different level. Stacy drew her sword and ordered Ethan to step back. A huge wolf, a S-rank capo monster, loomed over them. Will the girl be able to defeat him? What if Ethan joins her? Moreover, they are not ready. The hero came here to check what kind of monster it was. They shouldn't fight. Ethan slammed his sword into the ground, and after distracting the wolf, he told Stacy to run. So, he returned through the portal to his world. Ethan can't be sure because he didn't fight him directly, but at least 5 S-class hunters will be able to deal damage to the wolf. Stacy asked the hero, confused, what kind of power it was. Ethan asked in response how she had managed to return alive, and with her teammates, after escaping from that monster. Stacy replied that they were lucky. The hero asked if she really wanted to attack him again. Yes, she should do it. If Ethan comes up with a strategy, her team will do whatever it takes. The hero said that he would contact her as soon as he analyzed the monster and left. Ethan was at home watching the video and trying to figure out what kind of monster it was. The capo is a species, a modified version of the regular monster. There must be an original monster from which it came. Reports published by the Association. Encyclopedia of Monsters. No matter how much Ethan searches for information on the internet, he can't find it anywhere. Even after using Insight, he still can't find a single clue. What is this? Ethan also continued training with Hercules. Martial arts and super strength increased slightly. Hercules sighs, saying that the guy is lying only after this. The hero looked at his phone and stood up abruptly. The teacher asked what he was looking at. It was the monster Ethan had recently analyzed. Today is already the 3rd day, and the hero still does not understand what this is. Hercules became interested and asked to take a look. He looked at the screen, puzzled. Ethan asked if he knew what it was. Hercules replied that it looked like Fenrir, a mythical beast that appears in Norse mythology. Other names include the demon wolf and the wolf of divine carnage. The reason Fenrir is called that is simple. The creature that actually brought about the end of the world, Ragnarok, there was Fenrir, with his upper jaw reaching the edges of the sky and his lower jaw touching the edges of the earth. Fenrir devours everything between them. In the end, Fenrir, who devoured the entire world, bites and kills Odin, a powerful god from Norse mythology. Ethan asks what Fenrir is doing here and how he got here. How would Hercules know? This isn't his world. An unknown guy who gave the hero a smartphone containing GodTube, and even Fenrir. In this situation, Hercules is probably the only one who doesn't know how to get here. The teacher said that he had already fought Fenrir once, but of course he had won. Then Ethan asked what would happen if he fought the beast. Hercules isn't sure. It won't take even a second, probably. The hero looks puzzled, until Ethan is torn to pieces. The teacher laughed, but now, with Hercules looking at him, he can't tell. From this it can be seen that Fenrir has become very weak. His physique has also changed, becoming similar to a wolf cub. Still, the beast is the size of a small hill, but given the mythology of Fenrir, it is certain. And Hercules also says that the beast is wearing an ornament that he has never seen before. It seemed like this thing was suppressing Fenrir's power. Ethan began to wonder what kind of handcuffs these were. Hercules thinks that with Fenrir like that, it will only take a minute until Ethan is torn to pieces. On the beast Gleipnir, it is said that it can never be destroyed by anything that exists in this world. But how did Fenrir get here and why? If this black wolf is really him, then there is practically no way. Well, Hercules offers to at least tell the hero about the beast's weakness, but of course, not for free. Ethan said that if the teacher tells, he will share the idea of video content with 200 subscribers. Hercules replied to the master that he would organize the materials and bring them right away. The office building next to the dungeon waiting area is in chaos, with people asking how determined Stacy is to go back and raid the dungeon again. She entered the team room. It seemed like everyone was here so they could head out. However, they were interrupted by the ridiculous screams of Ethan, who launched the video. The guys are perplexed. One of them said that Ethan is a YouTuber and his channel is called World Conqueror. Henry doesn't think this is a really famous channel and asks what such a psycho is doing here. They say he is the one who came up with the strategy for this dungeon, but no one knows about it, only heard. Unconventional conditions for supporting team members, and they even dragged in a pathetic YouTuber. The guy decided that the team leader, Stacy, must be desperate. Okay, the white-haired guy asked Henry what he was going to do if it all ended. Henry asks him not to say such unpleasant things. Let him just prepare to enter the dungeon. The entire squad went down inside, and Ethan continues to tell his followers that they are in an S-rank dungeon. There is a lot of energy here. Henry doesn't understand how you can make a pathetic video at such an important moment. What if the Black Wolf notices? Suddenly, a strong pressure was felt. A pair of large red eyes were visible in front of the team. Stacy doesn't know if repeating the raid was the right decision. Would she really lead people to their deaths? Shouldn't she have asked an S-rank hunter for help? This raid is not easy. The first time SH enters the hunter industry, so the team must do it solely with the strength of SH. Everyone should know that the power of the SH group is fearsome. Stacy is ready to fight. Ethan explains that it is the legendary mythical beast, Fenrir, also known as the demon wolf. Fenrir is a beast that appears in Norse mythology. The audience asks if it is really Fenrir. The hero is not sure. He thinks they should fight him to find out. Ethan is a world conqueror. Even if it's Fenrir, the wolf that eats the whole world, it won't be a problem. So, the first point of the strategy is to attack Fenrir. The hero ran forward and was the first to rush at the beast. Stacy was very scared when Fenrir swiped with his huge paw. But Ethan was nowhere to be seen. Was he crushed? Suddenly, the hero jumps out from the side and hits the beast in the head. Damn, that was a direct hit, but the wolf is still okay. But Hercules told Ethan it would work. So what to do now? Fenrir tore and threw, knocking the hero off his feet. Stacy turned to the team and said that it was time for them to move too. Fenrir doesn't even let you get close to him. Attacking is almost impossible. Damn. Ethan doubted it was possible, but this Fenrir was real. Hercules said something about 1 minute, but the hero won't be able to hold out for even 10 seconds. His strategy is pointless. It only works on him because he is Hercules. But still, Gleipnir, as long as these shackles restrict Fenrir's movements, there is a chance. It's not so bad that Ethan can't win. It would be bad if he couldn't attack. But the most important thing is that he is not alone now. Stacy has been trying to get closer to the monster all this time, but suddenly a fireball was aimed at Fenrir, so the team had a hunter with magic. The fire magic seemed to have damaged the wolf, so the mages decided to repeat the attack. However, the second time Fenrir swallowed the fire sphere, he just went and ate it. Henry shouts for the boys to not retreat and to prepare for battle. Ethan says that if you look closely, you can see shackles attached to the beast's body. Stacy already knew about it. If these shackles will hold him, then it is possible to attack. While the mages attacked, Ethan calmed his emotions and focused all his senses. Finally, when the preparation was complete, the hero rushed at the beast. Superpower works. Now he had to keep pushing. However, at some point, Ethan felt a strong resistance. He flew to the ground and blood poured from his chest. Fenrir scratched him badly. If Ethan had reacted any later, this attack would have torn his entire body apart. Stop. The hero is not sure about this. But before the beast touched his body, he hesitated for a moment. Fenrir could definitely kill Ethan. But why was there such a reaction? A bloody wound appeared on the beast's body. Our hero needs to pull himself together. He needs to seize the opportunity. Ethan focused on the strike again and used his super strength to attack. After that, he grabbed Gleipnir and began to pull with all his might. At that moment, Stacy told everyone to step back and rush to scratch the monster with her sword. The aura from the blow spread for hundreds of meters. This is crazy. Literally a huge chunk of the ground has been ripped out. Ethan can be heard talking about how he is alive and did this. However, as much as it would be disappointing to him, Fenrir was unharmed. Henry says that this is a battle they cannot win. Ethan fell to the ground again. Why? Fenrir, bound by Gleipnir, was clearly restrained. But no matter what, it was still the demon wolf that brought the world to an end. A wolf of divine carnage that swallowed God himself. Fenrir is Fenrir. At Ethan's current level, it is impossible to attack him. It's strange. No matter how the hero thinks about it, everything is strange. It's the same situation as in the dungeon with the black troll. Perhaps Stacy saved the team members in the last raid in this way. No matter how hard they try, they cannot defeat Fenrir. Ethan finally understood why. He can't believe he just found out now. The hero was a fool. It didn't make sense from the start. The white-haired guy ran up to Ethan, asking if he could move, but the hero suddenly rushed forward. The hero came close to the wolf. As expected, he does not attack. Fenrir just watches. Stacy screams that Ethan has gone crazy and demands to come back quickly. However, the hero continued to approach and think. It didn't make sense from the very beginning. I don't know about the S-Class Hunter group, but with the current group, attacking Fenrir from the start was stupid. There was no point in fighting him. That's why it was weird. Ethan asks why he didn't die. How did everyone come back alive? How has no one on the team died so far? It looks like Stacy hasn't figured out what's going on yet. No problem, Ethan will explain. If Fenrir wanted, he would have killed all the boys. No one in this place could return alive. Henry asks how they came back alive then. The hero answers that the wolf let them go. The reason why Stacy and her team were able to come back alive, why he didn't kill a single person. Fenrir tells them to run away because he doesn't want to hurt them. Of course, even Ethan finds this hard to believe. But if you think about it, Fenrir never attacked first. At some point, Fenrir destroyed Asgard. As soon as he was born, he was abandoned. Since birth, he struggled with hunger and loneliness. But he persevered, never giving up, and survived. Have rumors spread that Fenrir is alive? The gods of Asgard came to find him. They had heard that he was strong. The wolf did not even resist the gods' unexpected offer to put on and try to untie the rope. After all, it was like an invitation to play together for him, who had always been lonely. Fenrir felt like he finally had friends. The gods were amazed that the wolf had broken the rope that even Thor could not break. Fenrir was happy because he thought he had made friends with the gods. But they thought otherwise. The gods were afraid of the power that could lead to destruction. So they created Gleipnir to bind him forever and came to him again. Fenrir thought that something was wrong and suspected something was wrong. The god of war, Tyr, said that if the wolf could not free himself and the gods refused to let him go, he could bite off the god's left hand. The god Tyr personally came to Fenrir and swore an oath. The beast believed him. Tyr was the only god who came to Fenrir when everyone turned a blind eye to him, and he gave him food in the barren land where there was no food, because he was a friend. So Fenrir found himself bound by Gleipnir and could not free himself. As expected, the gods did not free him, and Tyr also turned a blind eye to him. As promised, Tyr stuck his left hand into Fenrir's mouth, but the wolf could not bite the hand of God. He did not want to. However, the gods, fearing Fenrir's power, even stuck a sword into his mouth and made it so that he could not close his mouth. Fenrir was to remain chained until Ragnarok came, still as alone as before, in endless pain. After Ragnarok, his madness took over the wolf, and in the end, Fenrir swallowed the entire world and tore the gods apart. And yet, he won't be able to kill Tyr. And although the beast's mind was consumed by the madness of the destruction of the gods and the whole world, he did not forget Tyr, the only friend who returned to his abandoned self, the friend who gave food to his starving being. As always, Fenrir considered Tyr a friend. Perhaps it was naive and foolish of him. Fenrir in mythology was definitely not a wolf worthy of being called a wild demonic animal. So Ethan says that Fenrir doesn't want to harm them. However, no one on the team wants to believe it. It's not surprising. Still, Stacy says they have to get rid of the beast. If they neglect the S-rank dungeon and a breakthrough occurs, there will be no turning back. Even if the dungeon is not destroyed, Fenrir will come out during the breakthrough. There is no guarantee that it will not harm people. Stacy says they will retreat and report this to the association, and also get help from S-rank hunters. The girl decided to give up on clearing this dungeon, and Stacy is right. To prevent the possibility of disaster, they must kill Fenrir. Ethan doesn't know why the beast is here. Could it be that he was abandoned again? In mythology, the end of the entire world called Ragnarok was cut off by Gleipnir. Fenrir was able to escape, but for some unknown reason he is again bound to Gleipnir. Perhaps Fenrir was thrown here again? This dungeon was used as a barrier to trap the beast, so that he could not escape to another place. As in the myth, Fenrir was abandoned as soon as he was born, so that he could die here a lonely death. This also explains why the dungeon rank was measured as S rank. Only the mana of the dungeon in which the beast was imprisoned was measured, and not the mana of Fenrir himself. The power to trap a weakened Fenrir was measured as S rank. Stacy suggests going back, but Ethan is hesitant. There's nothing he can do. There's nothing he can do for Fenrir with his powers. If they leave like this, it will be all over. Fenrir has no intention of harming humans. Even if he had already committed suicide when the team returned, he would not pursue them now. Because it's stupid. Just like in the myth, It'll all end as soon as the guys leave the dungeon. Even if it's Fenrir, it won't be able to stand up to a group of S-rank hunters. All they have to do is gather the S-rank hunters and clear this dungeon. If Fenrir is weakened and tied up like he is now, he will definitely be attacked. That will be enough for them. The beast can't put people in danger, right? Fenrir just needs to be gotten rid of. Even if the guys leave like this, there won't be any problems. All Ethan has to do is live his life as usual. Go back to his everyday life. Make gear and make videos on YouTube, make money, study GodTube to cure Chloe. That's it. That's all Ethan can do. But why can't he take these steps? Abruptly, the hero returned to Fenrir. Abandoned wolf. The beast never harmed anyone. He did not dare to harm anyone even when he could suffer himself. But in the end, it is a monster in the dungeon, and a demonic monster that threatens people, so the guys have to get rid of it. You can't leave him alive, unfortunately there is no other way. GodTube legends never give up. Under no circumstances. They never lost even battles that were unwinnable. They never gave up, even if the fight never ended. Because they overcame the impossible and eventually became heroes. If there is no way out, they will create one. Ethan said he would destroy this dungeon. Stacy screams at him in panic. The problem is ultimately this dungeon. It's the barrier that holds Fenrir, the dungeon that can be destroyed. What if we destroy the dungeon itself? Stacy screams that it's impossible. To destroy the dungeon means to destroy the space, and only God is capable of this. It's still dangerous to summon that level of power, but Ethan can't stop. The river does not drink its own water, the trees do not eat their own fruit, the sun does not shine for itself, and the flowers do not smell fragrant on their own. Gentlemen don't think only of themselves. Ethan really does sound like a scientist. He can only laugh because no one will admit it, and the hero won't even be able to make money from it. But still, if you don't get angry even when others don't acknowledge you, aren't you a gentleman? A gentleman doesn't get angry even when the world doesn't acknowledge him. Ethan doesn't know how gentlemen are, but in today's world it's enough not to be called an idiot. But for some unknown reason, Ethan just wants to be a decent person. Not those who are good in themselves, but those who treat the people around them well. Ethan doesn't know, but the thought came to him suddenly. After watching Confucius's video, after looking at the wounded Fenrir, such a thought came to his mind. Therefore, Ethan prepared the divine martial arts of Hercules. The teacher said that they are not only used for fighting, and space is the most important law by which the world is structured. The first technique is the dragon's outgoing strike. The aura spread for kilometers. It was as if a glass sphere, a barrier, had shattered in front of Stacy. She immediately ran to Ethan, who was lying on the ground. Our hero is still alive. And then Fenrir came, whose chains were finally broken. Stacy knew Ethan wasn't a normal, traitless awakened when he fought the troll. But what is this terrifying force that destroyed an entire dungeon? Still, it's not time to be surprised. Before the dungeon collapsed completely, they had to get out of here. Stacy took Ethan's arm and they walked towards the exit. After some time, the hero woke up. He believes that he is in the VIP ward of the SH Group Hospital. And Stacy was there the whole time. She immediately jumped up and asked if Ethan was okay. The hero asked why she was there. The girl raised her hand with the IV and replied that he could see that she was also a patient. Stacy asked if he was uncomfortable. Of course, would she be comfortable in his place? Who doesn't like being with a beautiful woman? No, as Confucius said. Men and women don't sleep together after age 7. Men and women can't be in the same space after age 7, so why? Wait, what the hell is Ethan talking about? Stacy suggested that Ethan ask what happened. Before the dungeon collapsed, she pulled him out after he lost consciousness. And after various procedures, Ethan woke up. The hero asked if he was right. He was taken aback when he saw Stacy's face. Doesn't she like it when you get to the point? As Ethan said, the dungeon was destroyed. As a result, it was considered cleared. This is good. By the way, the hero asked what happened to Fenrir. Stacy isn't too sure. But if he's talking about that wolf monster, she saw the beast leave somewhere at the end. With the dungeon that served as Feeney's prison destroyed, Ethan hopes he can return safely to the realm of the gods. For now, Stacy hasn't revealed what happened in the dungeon. She's also asked her comrades to keep their mouths shut. It was announced that they were the ones who conquered the dungeon. But if Ethan wants, they will fix it. Meaning, make it so that he was the one who cleared it. The hero suggested that it would be better to say that Miss Knox did it. The girl fell silent, and then asked if there was a reason why Ethan was hiding his power. The hero started joking, saying that this couldn't be true. If it were true, he wouldn't have created his channel on YouTube. Although Ethan has no intention of hiding his strength, given the situation, Now it is necessary for the SH group to be known as the one who cleared the S-rank dungeon. Therefore, it will be said that Stacy was the one who conquered it. The girl must be doubting her own abilities, thinking about whether she can announce it, even though she doesn't have the skills to clear an S-rank dungeon. Ethan said that the dungeon this time was special, and Stacy was quite capable of clearing S-rank dungeons. The girl thought that the hero was trying to console her, but he was only stating the facts. Stacy smiled and thanked him. Well, enough about that. Ethan asked if there was anything else she wanted to say. Yes, that was exactly what she wanted to get to. Stacy asked if the hero would like to work with her. Later, Ethan looked at his phone and was shocked. All skills rose by some unimaginable numbers. Even divine martial arts increased by 9%. Not to mention 1.3%. Superpower only increases by 0.3 to 0.4% every day. And yet, it just increased by 13%. And the mastery of divine martial arts had only increased by 0.1% in the week before. Moreover, the gentleman's skill in insight and wisdom increased immediately for several years to come. Ethan wonders if it's because of the dragon's downward strike. Until now, his NutTube videos have only shown him clearing dungeons. But this time the hero destroyed the space and dimension of the dungeon, and therefore the dungeon itself was destroyed. And Ethan found himself in this state. Just like when he encountered the Dark Troll, he lost consciousness as soon as he used his power. Still, compared to his past, being able to use divine martial arts was already a huge improvement. When would Ethan be able to make him completely his? And yet he only wanted to try it once. Who would have thought that Stacy would agree right away? The girl left the hospital and asked Logan to take her to her grandfather. He thanked Stacy for her hard work on this raid. The chairman was very pleased. Logan asked what Ethan said, if he refused again. The girl answered that yes. The man asked what our hero said this time. Well, Ethan said something like gentlemen only get along with people, not with a group. On the other hand, insignificant people form gangs but do not get along with each other. That's why instead of being colleagues or teammates, the hero said that he likes to work together sometimes. Based on this, he asked if Stacy wanted to learn fencing. So, he was going to be the one teaching her now? Logan admits that Ethan has exceptional abilities, but isn't he an awakened D class? Stacy told him she wanted to try learning. Then the driver asked why they were going to the chairman now. The girl thinks she needs to pay for her education. Meanwhile, Ethan is still in the hospital. He sits in the yard and thinks about what is best. Heaven-destroying divine sword of King Xiangyu, Dragon Slayer Siegfried's dragon-slaying sword technique, or the founder of the Wudang sect, Zhang Sanfeng's Taiji sword. These three techniques are probably the ones that suit Stacy the most. Among these three techniques, there should be one that she likes the most. You can show her all three techniques and let her choose. But it doesn't matter. Ethan will need to pay a subscription fee. In addition to the 10 billion won, he will also receive tuition fees every month. The hero decided to check his subscriptions, but was very surprised. All of them cost not even 200 million but 2 billion. It's not clear why it's so expensive. The Confucius channel costs 1 billion, and that's even more expensive. Ethan began scrolling through his phone frantically. This couldn't be happening. He opened the Hippocrates and Ho Chung channels. Last time the hero checked, it was definitely 100 million. The subscription price had increased to 2 billion. Does this mean that the subscription price increases with the number of channels he subscribes to? So, it will be 3 billion. No, maybe 4 billion or even more. Wait, if it continues to grow like this, there is no reason to choose all three. Even if it goes up by 1 billion, the total fee alone is 9 billion. Ethan can sign up once and cancel it. But can he do it after registration? Now what? Will he have to pay 9 billion every month? No, if Ethan does not pay, the subscription will be cancelled automatically. Even if he only chooses one sword technique to teach Stacy, the subscription to the next channel Ethan chooses will also increase. Because the channels he subscribes to add up. No matter how much money Ethan makes, there's no end in sight. Suddenly he felt a strange energy and presence that did not belong to a person. The hero came closer to the bushes and saw something that looked like a dog. But, upon closer inspection, it became clear that it was Fenrir, who was playfully wagging his tail. But where did he come from? And the beast became much smaller. Suddenly, Fenrir threw the mouse out of his mouth. Does he really want Ethan to eat it? The mouse is still alive, but as soon as the hero stretched out his hand, Fenrir immediately ran away. What's going on? The hero told Hercules everything and he angrily asks why. After all, he taught Ethan how to win. The hero asks specifically because he doesn't know. Hercules said that Fenrir's weak point is his sides, and that he wouldn't be able to use his full power if you grabbed him by the tail. But none of this advice worked. Hercules replied that it was because Ethan was too weak. He should have said so from the start. No, he could have at least warned him. The hero almost died. Hercules asks, who would have thought that Ethan would give up so weak? Well, it doesn't matter now. The hero asked to tell him a strategy that would suit his level, and not to teach him his own methods of combat. Hercules screams that this is not fair. He cannot accept it. Even his muscles say that it is not fair. What a relief that everything was resolved in the end. Ethan could have died. But more importantly, his video, the one he filmed in the dungeon, was completely erased. The video featured not only Fenrir, but also Stacy, and it certainly had at least 1 million views. It could have brought so much benefit to the hero, but now it is gone. At the door of the chamber, Ethan saw Fenrir again, but he was sad. Hercules continued to grieve, and when he looked at the door, the beast immediately ran away. Since they had fought before, Fenrir should remember him. Coming closer, Ethan saw that the beast had brought a dove not this time. The hero touched the animal and the bird immediately stood up. That is, it was alive. She waved her head and flew away. Hercules asks where Fenrir came from and what kind of dove it is. Ethan doesn't know. Maybe Fenrir brought him a pigeon to eat. Hercules is very surprised he is not even a cat. The hero himself does not know. In any case, if Fenrir brings Ethan, doesn't that mean that these animals are his prey? The hero thinks he is an animal who wants to hurt other animals. In that case, why is he bringing it to Ethan? Is he asking them to kill him? Hercules was very surprised and asked where Fenrir came from. Ethan told him everything that happened in the dungeon. It's so strange that Fenrir appeared in the hero's dimension. It's unclear how he can exist like this. Ethan was curious too, but wasn't Hercules the only one who didn't know how to get here? Hercules replies that this is nonsense and their dimensions cannot overlap. Ethan then asks where Fenrir came from. So it's true that Hercules is the only one who doesn't know this. He asks Ethan to trust him. It's all so unfair. Shows how his muscles say it's not fair. Yes, of course they do. In any case, Ethan managed to survive after using the dragon's outgoing strike. Hercules asks how the boy managed to use it. Ethan says that he just had luck on his side. But the teacher says that his dragon outgoing strike can't be used just by relying on some kind of luck. By the way, Ethan asked why Hercules doesn't teach him the next technique. It's not that hard. But the hero seems to have to give something in return. Got it. He'll let the teacher know the content of the next video. Pandemonium's top leader, Cole Hawkins, was informed that a new order had come in. Ethan Carter, a D-class hunter. Cole told the girls to leave and then asked if the guy was making fun of him. Does their pandemonium seem funny? However, the guy claims that Ethan is an unusual D-class hunter. Cole replies that D-class is D-class even in Africa. He must have heard that Stacy from SH Group cleared an S-rank dungeon. Of course Cole knows. It's all anyone talks about on the internet. The subordinate says Ethan has something to do with it too. Cole is surprised. The guy is some kind of trash D-class. The subordinate doesn't know the details, but Ethan seemed to be helping Stacy. The manager asked what the order was. The guy needed Cole to confirm it. It didn't matter how he did it. More importantly, it's a VIP order. Cole apologized, but he can't fulfill it. Cassie Wang made her move. The human butcher from the inspection bureau finally moved. Cole doesn't know what she found there, but he causes the group a lot of problems. If Cole gets caught by this bitch, even he won't escape unscathed. Moreover, a new branch manager was recently appointed in Korea, and Cole does not want to create unnecessary problems for them right away. The subordinate is in complete shock. Let Cole just not say that the leader is at the level of the scar. The key figures, called Pandemonium leaders, are divided into 5 levels: Tear, Fracture, Crack, Scar, Bruise. The leader of Pandemonium, whose identity is unknown, is said to have killed one of the 13 heroes, the Red Shadow. A Scar-level leader would be someone who could survive working with the Red Shadow and walk away with nothing but scars. There is now such a manager working in Korea, but Cole asks not to tell anyone about it. The guys said they would help the group with the inspection bureau. They will also help Pandemonium gain a foothold in Korea. In other words, they will help the new branch manager establish himself in this position. Here's the deal. This is Cole's chance to win him over. So it wasn't just a VIP order, it was a super VIP. Cole asks what the conditions are. Just don't kill Ethan. Cole asked again. In other words, he's allowed to cut off his limbs? If you work with a sick person, the progress of skills of course slows down a lot, but at least the indicators increase. Suddenly, Fenrir came running again and brought a rabbit. It is not clear where he got it. Where can I get a video in the city? Several days had passed since then. Ethan thought that perhaps the beast would calm down soon. However, the gifts grew bigger and bigger. The next day, Fenrir brought a deer, and a day later, a whole eagle. How does he even catch them? What will happen next time? Will it bring a bear? And yes, the next morning, Ethan saw a huge bear under the door of his room, and Fenrir's eyes speak with hope that the hero will like it. It seems that Ethan needs to take special measures. A week later, he was already back home. His sister asked if Ethan was feeling well. The hero replied that he was fine, and that it wasn't that serious a wound. If Stacy hadn't taken him to the hospital when he fainted, the hero might have died altogether. More importantly, how was Chloe feeling, and whether she was taking her medication regularly? She couldn't have missed it just because Ethan wasn't around. My sister told me she doesn't do that anymore, and she took herbal remedies without fail. Chloe just thinks about them, and her stomach starts to hurt. It seems she is still having a hard time. The hero will need to increase his level of divine healing techniques. By the way, Ethan wanted to ask Chloe if she liked puppies. His sister was delighted to see a puppy on the doorstep. She immediately went to hug him, saying how cute he was. The hero got scared and told her to be careful. Chloe asked in surprise why, and Ethan said that he might bite. His sister doesn't believe him. Who the dog might hurt with his teeth? She doesn't know yet. If Fenrir bites, the world will come to a standstill. Chloe asked to name the dog if Ethan hadn't given him a name yet. The girl suggested the name Chernish. The hero hesitated, and the sister thought that he didn't like it. Does Chloe even have any idea what kind of names to give? The sister asked the dog if he liked Chernish, and he wagged his tail. Ethan is completely confused. It seems that Fenrir has already learned the techniques of survival in the human world. Then they decided to call the dog Chernish. Well, probably, since Fenrir is so happy, Chloe gave him a good name. In the gym of the SH Hunters Guild headquarters, Ethan met with Stacy. First, they will sign a contract as she promised. After deducting the deposit, it comes to 9 billion. They immediately arrive to the hero's account. There are a whopping 10.6 billion won on the balance sheet. Everything is boiling inside. A family of 4 can live for 277 years on this money. Stacy also wants to discuss the cost of that lecture Ethan mentioned last time after she saw his swordsmanship. Yes, the hero will show it live and they will make a decision. In fact, he was not sure how much he should ask for it, and he does not even know how much Stacy wants to pay. So it would be better if she decided everything on her own. Then Ethan asked for 1 training sword. There are only 3 sword techniques he will demonstrate now. He chose the ones that will suit Stacy, but it's quite difficult for him to choose one. So he asks the girl to tell him which one she likes best. Ethan thought about joining their membership program, but it's too expensive. And the longer you're in, the more you pay. The hero came here only after watching their trailer and is not sure that he will be able to show it off well. So the first style of swordsmanship is called the divine sword that splits the heavens. Stacy is in shock. She couldn't see the sword move. She can't even move. Unlike last time, Ethan swung rather slowly, but his suppression definitely affected her body. Now the hero will show the style of wielding the sword of the dragon slayer, Siegfried. He made many swipes and a bright pink silhouette of a dragon appeared in the air. Stacy was becoming more and more shocked. And finally, the Taeguk sword style used by Zhang Sambong, the founder of Wudang. This style contains the origin of the universe. The swing of the sword summoned all 4 elements. That's all. These are the 3 sword techniques Ethan can teach the girl. He asks which one she liked the most. At the same time, there is a car parked in front of the guild headquarters. Cole asks if Ethan has come out yet. The driver cannot confirm that they left there. He does not understand what they are doing there. Cole believes that Ethan offered Stacy some of his services. At first glance, he looks menacing, but in bed he will behave completely differently. The man mentioned that this Ethan has a younger sister. The driver says that if they get involved with strangers, they might get into trouble. If the ID gets wind of this and Cassie gets involved, Cole said not to worry. The people behind the council will figure it out themselves just fine. If they just show a little attention to this guy's little sister a couple of times. Instead of wasting the group's time, Ethan himself crawled to them on his knees after he noticed. Cole ordered to quickly catch her, Ethan Carter's younger sister. Stacy stands in a stupor, and the hero tries to bring her to her senses, and still find out which technique she liked the most. The girl hesitated, then Ethan held out the sword and told her to try it herself since she couldn't choose. Stacy's movements were no different from his, but something was missing. The girl stopped and said that she was missing something. Nothing really came of it. Then Ethan smiled and suggested trying other techniques. He simply had to get his allowance. Later, Hercules said that, of course, Stacy couldn't keep up with the hero, since she was an ordinary person. But Ethan could, and he also uses it to learn martial arts. Hercules says that a hero can use their power, that's all. Ethan asks what the difference is. Well, when he first asked Hercules to teach him martial arts, he had a reason for refusing. First, it was laziness, but that's not the point. Second, Ethan can only learn if he understands how to use superpowers. Hercules said that at that moment the hero's mental state was the worst possible. But no, that's not it either. Just as Ethan learns the basics of his martial arts, he must also learn the rest of the gods' martial arts. And Stacy doesn't know the basics, so she can't repeat them. Although the fact that she kept up with Ethan's movements is also a kind of feat. Hercules thinks that the hero is an exception, because he was able to use someone else's knowledge without registering with their membership program. Ethan said he had no traits, but he woke up. Probably, but not having traits is a trait in itself. Last time Hercules said a hero can't gain the power of the gods just by subscribing to their channels. To be precise, a new existence cannot be overwritten on an existing one. Traits are the uniqueness of existence. However, Ethan can be drawn on as a blank slate, as there is no uniqueness to his existence, meaning he can easily study the traits of other gods. Hercules thinks that this can only be explained this way. The hero assumed that no one except him could know about the capabilities of GodTube. Doesn't that mean he can't teach Stacy? For now, with a monthly allowance of 10 billion. But Hercules said that maybe if Ethan taught her what he had come up with, it wouldn't matter so much. That same night, a man knocked on the hero's door. He tore off the door handle and entered. Walked over to Chloe's bed and appreciated what a hottie she was, since they still needed to lure that bastard Ethan out. It won't hurt him if a man touches a girl a little, will it? Suddenly a sound was heard, but the man certainly didn't notice any presence. Is there really someone else in this house? And then he noticed a dog, namely our little dog Fenrir Blackie. Ethan asked Hercules again. As he said, even though humans can't master their martial arts, if a hero masters them and then teaches them to Stacy, it won't matter so much, since their powers can't be taught. So, in the end, Ethan still teaches her martial arts with GodTube, and the fact that she can't learn won't change. Hercules replied that among the techniques that Ethan listed, with Master Zhang Sanfeng Taiju, the story will be a little different. He was an important figure in the martial arts world, even helping Hercules when he was just learning his martial arts. There is a high chance that Ethan will master Taiju. After that, he can build his own god-based martial art on it, and he can teach Stacy that way, so that shouldn't be a problem. Because what Ethan will teach her does not apply to him or the gods. In short, the hero plays the role of a purification cartridge. If Ethan masters Taiju, he can also practice divine martial arts. Creating your own martial art is not that easy, but the hero is sure that there will be no problems. In any case, he is very grateful to Hercules for telling him. Okay, but since Ethan wanted to thank him, Hercules asked when the hero would give him the video he mentioned earlier. Ethan said he would take care of it and let me know as soon as it was ready, because this time it was a bit complicated. Now it will be difficult for the hero to create his own martial art or practice divine martial arts. So how will he teach Stacy a martial art based on Taiju? When Ethan returned home, he saw the front door handle torn off. He panicked and ran into the apartment. What a relief that Chloe is still sleeping peacefully. On the floor, the hero saw a scratched, unconscious man, and next to him was a joyful Fenrir. Ethan praised the dog for protecting Chloe. The hero has never seen this man before. Judging by his energy, he is definitely an awakened person, not an ordinary person. Even though Ethan doesn't know how he got into their house, he's sure he has bad intentions. The hero thanked Chernish again and asked him to look after the house for a bit. Later, the criminal woke up beaten and tied up somewhere in the basement. He was very surprised to see Ethan in front of him. The hero did not expect that the man knew him. He will ask the criminal a couple of questions. He just needs to answer them correctly. The man began to insult Ethan, and then with a slight movement he tore the ropes. As the hero thought, this asshole came to his house with bad intentions. Ethan pressed his superpower on the man's shoulder so hard that he screamed. The hero grabbed his face and told him to shut up. If Chloe wakes up, okay with them and the questions, Ethan will just kill the man. And he is not the kind of person who will take the word of someone who still has intact limbs. Ethan brought the man's body to the building he had blabbed about. The hero turned to the criminals and asked where Cole Hawkins was. The guys pretended they didn't know anything and said it was some kind of nonsense. One of them approached Ethan and advised him to cool down and go home before something happened to him. They asked if he even knew who Cole was. They advised him to get lost if he valued his life. But Ethan, already with his super pressure, asked where Cole was. The guy got angry and wanted to hit him, but the hero pinned him down and repeated his question. The guy doesn't understand why some stranger is so strong. And then Ethan throws him back. The other bandits immediately rush to attack the hero in response. They say that he seems to be very confident in his skills, but he is finished. Ethan kicked the ground with his foot and then threw the resulting sharp rocks at the bandits. The hero grabbed one of them and asked again where Cole was. Meanwhile, at the Hunter Inspection Bureau, Casey was informed that Pandemonium had made its move. The commander asked if their location had been found out. Layla replied that no, but the traces of movements were clear enough to track, so they would find out soon. Cassie says to immediately gather all members of Squad 4 and request reinforcements from all possible guards. Demands to gather even those guards who can't move. Cassie needs to go too. But suddenly the man stopped her, apologizing for disturbing her during the service. They had received an urgent task. It looks like Cassie is needed there. The girl apologized, but she doesn't think she can help them now. However, the man added that this was a special order from the chief. A C-class dungeon had appeared in Sandu Dong. The man thought Cassie should go there quickly. The girl asks if she really needs to go there and suggests sending another squad. The man heard Cassie ask for backup. He can refuse this request. Moreover, he does not think the chief will turn a blind eye to it. He tells her that he can't bear the consequences of Cassie's choice, so she must be prepared for that. To think that such a bastard would be the head of the Hunter Inspection Bureau division. Cassie replied that she didn't care whether she got fired or not. Let them do what they wanted. Let's get back to Ethan. From the bandits, they are approximately awakened, judging by their unusual appearance. It won't be an easy fight, but these bastards are after Chloe. If the hero lets them get away with it, gives in, those bastards would get up to their old tricks and target her again. He had to destroy them. Beasts with no morals or ethics, acting more on instinct than reason. Ethan must deeply root fear into their instincts instead of reasoning with them, to drum into them that they must never cross his path, so that they would scream in terror at the mere mention of his name. The bandit decided to pounce first, but he never expected Ethan to take off so quickly. The hero threw him back into the crowd. It was clear to the bandits that this was no ordinary guy. They decided not to rush in haste, but simply surround and attack. In a fight with several opponents, they attacked 3 at once, maximum 5. They know that attacking a large number of opponents will inevitably lead to confusion and chaos, so it is much less effective than fighting one-on-one. Dozens of people forming a huge formation, attacking in unison without getting confused, and perfectly exchanging tactical information with each other. Of course, it is too absurd to call it the art of construction, but they imitate it to some extent. The teacher told me that the key that I break the art of construction is simple: the door of life and the door of death. First, you need to learn to distinguish them. There are several types of construction arts, but they all necessarily follow one principle. At the end of both are 16 arrays of heavenly charge. In the center are 12 arrays of earthly charge. Even if Ethan tries to remember, he doesn't understand what the teacher is talking about, but he can see it vaguely. A small space between the running bastards. Insight tells the hero that this is a huge door of life. The human body has several vital points. Renmai, Yuan Shui, Xiahuang, where the Qi acupuncture center is located. The door of death is everywhere. Ethan sees no door of life anywhere. The bandits surrounded him and were happy to have caught the rat. No matter how experienced you are, fighting 100 people running at you at once is always very difficult. Hercules said that no one can stand against a group because fighting them immediately becomes difficult. Even if you have a bunch of small fry around you, sometimes you don't see a way out of the situation when you are surrounded. And what should we do then? Break through with force. Ethan drove the bandits away with the help of super strength. And so, when he takes them out one by one, in the end, the strongest of them will appear. Cole came out of the building and asked what all the fuss was about. He asked who the bastard was. Hercules doesn't know why, but leaders always appear last. But he told Ethan that when he saw this bastard, he was to kill him. The hero pounced on Cole and threw him into the wall with great force. The leader's subordinates can't understand how he ended up knocked out with one blow. What nonsense. Cole spat out blood and stood up slowly. This guy in front of him, our hero, doesn't look particularly strong. But if the attack had really been a surprise, Cole would have really died. He asked what the hero wanted. Ethan asked the man if he had ordered Chloe's kidnapping. Cole now realized that it was Ethan standing in front of him. The hero once again asked if the man had ordered Chloe's kidnapping. Cole looks at him and realizes that this is the face he saw on the website. But he said he had a D rank. However, you can't trust anyone here. Ethan asks one last time if Cole ordered his sister's kidnapping. The man asked with a creepy grin, "What if yes?" He knows that Ethan's level is higher than stated, but that's all. As soon as the hero heard this, he swung his fist at Cole. However, the man grabbed his hand and said that Ethan was fast. Cole strained every sense he had, but still almost missed the blow. Ethan may not be so bad, but that's all. The man said that the only thing the hero lacks is strength. From what Cole sees in the video, he can assume that Ethan's power is tied to will. And this means that the stronger he is, the weaker the guy is. The leader of the Pandemonium squad entered a state of physical enhancement and became several times larger. Even though Cole attacked, Ethan still managed to hit him in the stomach. No one with D rank is capable of this. The man came up and said that the hero had already done enough and it was time to open his eyes. Cole welcomed Ethan to Pandemonium. The subordinates tried to say something to their leader, but he just shut them up and ignored them. Ethan had so much power. What was the point of living a normal, boring life? Cole said they were special. There was a difference between them and ordinary people who were no better than scum. That was only fair, wasn't it? Why should they live by the rules that these insects created? Let them live by the laws that they created for their own safety. But not super beings like Pandemonium. What's the point of sacrificing yourself for the weak? Cole asks if the weak shouldn't sacrifice themselves to them because they are superhuman. And the strong man must oppress the weak. The strong can do everything. Pandemonium will create a world where strength determines power and justice, where there are no rules and laws. If you want something, take it. You can get drunk. You can rob. Ethan asks what Cole is talking about. He wasn't really listening. It seemed like the man needed to talk, so the hero kept quiet. Ethan asked if he was done talking nonsense. Cole thought it was because of his sister, but giving in to such feelings was stupid. Ethan asked thoughtfully why it was stupid. The man replied that if you are controlled by personal attachment, then you are a weakling, but the hero did not agree. That means Ethan is a human being and not an animal like Cole. The man chuckled. She admires our hero's abilities, so she gave him a chance, but if he is ready to sacrifice his life, Cole says just don't regret it later. The chain on his neck broke and he was completely confident in his superiority. However, after he hit, he realized that he was thrown back. And it is not clear what it was, and even more importantly, at what moment. Ethan dodged twice, and then at an unexpected moment, he punched Cole right in the stomach. The man can't believe he missed his counterattack. And after that, Ethan attacks again. This is a whole other level. It's completely different from what it was before. Cole, lying on the ground, muttered that he would not give up and that Ethan should not think that he would leave him alone after this. The hero offered to take a risk if the guy wanted, because then he would destroy all of Pandemonium. Cole asks if Ethan is going to fight them alone. The hero said to take a closer look, and his aura filled the entire space around. Cole wasn't imagining it. This superpower is so unattainable that no human can resist it. Divine Art of Hercules' first form. A falling dragon strike that loomed over the stunned boy. After some time, Cassie and her squad arrived at the scene. She tells the inspectors who arrived earlier to report the situation. The guy said that it was all over. It was easier to see it than to explain it. When they arrived, it was like this. A whole crowd of men, all lying on the ground. Cassie asked if everyone was passed out. Not all. There are those who have already woken up. The girl tells the guy to first find out who it is. Even those who are unconscious must be identified as soon as they come to. Murders, rapes, beatings. We need to check everyone for these crimes. Maybe they have a criminal record. And if they do, then Cassie ordered the murder. She told Layla that she would help here too. Cassie walked further and saw Cole, one of the leaders of Pandemonium. Even if all the guards of the 4th detachment had rushed at him at once, they would hardly have been able to win. Even Cassie couldn't do it. Then we need to find out who can do it. After leaving the place, Ethan sat down to the side and used the divine healing skill on himself. He hopes it will pass soon. There are some skills that cannot be used in public. Ethan didn't use all his strength like he did back in Fenrir's dungeon. If I had used all my strength, it could have ended badly. However, the hero controlled his strength. Hercules' strength increased. Not only has this skill increased, but other stats have also increased significantly. But there is still a lot of work to do. That bastard was very strong. Kai was no match for him. This is a war between the guards and the criminal rankers. At any moment, Ethan could find himself in the middle of a battle again. We can't leave them like this because they risked touching Chloe. At first, the hero thought that someone had ordered them to deal with him, and they had captured Chloe to lure him. It is unknown what would have happened if it were not for Fenrir. Now he will have to be on guard forever. Ethan thinks about what to do. The senior leader of the Pandemonium group, Sean Hanks, was informed that Cole had been hurt. He asked who had done it, and when he found out it was Ethan Carter, a D-class hunter, he got really angry. How could someone like that attack one of the leaders? The assistant started mumbling something when he felt a strong pressure. Sean was angry that the guy told him information he didn't know for sure. The assistant shouted that there was an inspection bureau there. The scene was immediately cordoned off by its employees. There were survivors, but for some reason they went crazy. Sean asked why this Ethan did this. They say that before that, Cole received an order. The target was a guy named Ethan Carter. And while they were carrying out the order, an incident occurred. But in the end, Ethan is not caught. One of the leaders becomes a victim of a D-class hunter. Who knows what the orders were? It could have been just an accident. Sean wondered if the Bureau was behind it. Knowing that crazy bitch Cassie, it's entirely possible. The assistant continued. Those who escaped went crazy. But even they reacted when they heard Ethan's name. They shook with horror. Sean was surprised, even so. Apparently, it was Ethan Carter who did it. But then why is he marked as a D-class hunter? He's causing trouble for Pandemonium and the entire criminal underworld. What if they can take advantage of the situation? Sean, with a creepy grin from ear to ear, said that they would send a warning to that bastard. The leader ordered that all members of Pandemonium be told to find him Ethan Carter. Previously, the group would have killed him immediately, but now the Inspection Bureau has intervened, and this is not very good. Cassie can't get to them, but still. Sean asked how far along the Bureau's investigation was. The aide replied that John Falk, the chief inspector, seemed ready for battle. Meanwhile, the head of the sole branch of the Inspection Bureau, Tom Barton, yells at Cassie for causing the massacre. And she's also called the squad leader. She ignored his order and killed dozens of people. She asks for forgiveness, but they were all repeat offenders. Tom is indignant that she dares to object. If so, they were no longer capable of fighting. Cassie doesn't even know what that means. She didn't defend herself. She committed murder. This time, the girl crossed the line and Tom ordered her to hand over her uniform. Then her squad came running screaming. The chief asks if they really want to be left without a uniform too, but they say that the commander was just doing her job. Tom says to keep quiet. He is the boss and he has the right to criticize Inspector Van's work. So the form is waiting. Cassie was about to agree when another colleague objected. It's unfair. The boss is simply afraid that everyone will find out about his bribes and loyalty to criminals. Tom suddenly stood up from his seat and asked what the brat had said. Cassie, with a scary look, said that she would give the uniform back, but let the boss leave her team alone. Okay, Tom sat back down. But suddenly someone entered the office. The man thinks it's best to leave the commander alone. Cassie doesn't understand why the director is here. Inspector General John Falk heard they had encountered Pandemonium. How could he not come? Or maybe Tom thought the headmaster didn't know how dangerous Pandemonium was. John has just heard that the boss is protecting criminals. Tom justifies himself by saying that it is a misunderstanding. It doesn't matter whether it's a misunderstanding or not. The investigation will find out. John turned to Cassie and asked with a smile if she was the squad leader. He wanted to talk to her alone and asked the girl for a minute. John will ask directly if Cassie really did it. Director Falk has cut off the air to many criminal organizations in Korea. The very fact of his existence frightens criminals. And he is the son of Will Falk, one of the 13 saviors of humanity. John already knows about what happened, but he asks if the killings were necessary. Before, when the demon world invaded ours, the Awakened became the hope of humanity. But the more stable the world became, the more everyone thought about money. But John's father said that was normal. He said he fought for years because he wanted it more than anyone else. However, there are those who use power like Pandemonium. John's father was upset by this, but we can't be like them. If Cassie also starts to solve everything by force, then what will be the difference between her and Pandemonium? As his father said, justice is always obvious, but John thinks differently. Justice is not always obvious. Of course, there is a certain limit, but if you work in the dirt, you can't help but get dirty. So John repeats. In the process of dismantling the criminal group, a forced murder occurred. Cassie nodded, but it wasn't her doing. The girl checked all the CCTV cameras in the area, but she was unable to find out who it was. Those people who remained conscious all went crazy. They couldn't tell anything because they were terrified. But some repeated about one hunter. John thought they were talking about some S-class hunter. But Cassie surprised him greatly when she answered that she was talking about a D-class hunter. As a reward, Ethan bought Chernish a whole mountain of tasty meat. And just before morning, Chloe woke up. She was surprised that he was up so early. The hero is sure she suspected something when she woke up. Well, at least he managed to fix the door handle. Divine metallurgy can be used for repairs, although there are no restrictions here, thank God. In any case, you need to be prepared. Something unexpected can happen at any moment. Suddenly, Ethan thought about just building a new house. If you build a new house with divine metallurgy, it will be protected from any attacks, and Chloe will be safe. The only question is where exactly to build the house. The sister still needs treatment, so they cannot leave Seoul. But Ethan has over 10 billion. Maybe buy the house they're in now? The hero told Chloe that he would go out for a while. A man was already waiting for him on the street. He wants to ask Ethan something. The hero tries to figure out who it is. He seemed to have seen this man on the news. And then he realized it was John Falk. Ethan was stunned. What was the bureau director doing here? Was he really here because of what happened yesterday? The bureau wouldn't have ignored it. The hero should have seen it coming. But the criminals got to his sister and Ethan lost control of himself. And yet, John came in person. And so quickly, too. No, this is just an assumption. Nothing is known yet. No need to rush to conclusions. The hero confirmed that he was Ethan Carter. John asked if he had done any crime in the criminal world yesterday. He did this to people, and now he lives as if nothing happened. Damn. The director already knows everything. John is much stronger than Cole. Ethan can't win. The killer thought is to run, but Chloe is here. What will happen to her if her brother escapes? No, the hero cannot retreat. But suddenly John put his hand on Ethan's shoulder and offered to become a guard. The hero froze in place. This was the last thing he could think about. What is the average salary of the guards? They are civil servants. But those who have served for a long time say their annual salary can reach $1 billion. I can't believe it. Although if you think about it, Ethan wouldn't refuse such a salary. But why did John suddenly offer it? Why did he leave before the hero answered? Didn't he really hope for consent? Then why did he come? Or maybe he came because of yesterday, for the investigation. Although, this is Ethan's business. The hero came to the mistress of the house. She was surprised that he came himself. He said that he wanted to talk about the house in which he now lives. He asked the woman if she wanted to sell it. She asked again, surprised why he was asking. She said not to worry. As long as Ethan lives there, he won't sell it. And housing prices are such now that it's not profitable to sell. Interest rates have gone up. Realtor fees have gone up. Basically, a woman won't sell her house until she has kids. But that's not what Ethan meant. It's just that if a woman is thinking about selling, he'd like to buy. She asked how he could afford it. As the owner knows, Ethan is one of the awakened. He has money and would like to buy her house. The woman is happy, but she doesn't know. The guy himself knows that the house is very old and it's not easy to live in it. Ethan replied that he had become very attached to him. Well, if he wants it that way, the woman will give it to him for $150 million. Ethan was surprised by such a small amount. The woman just knows he's having a hard time, that's all. And even if she put it up for sale, she wouldn't get more. The landlady says to just accept it. But no. If it weren't for her, he and Chloe would probably die on the street. So Ethan will buy a house for $1 billion. Building the house turned out to be more difficult than he thought. So many papers, registration, building permits, and all that. To get permission, you will have to spend several months. You will have to go and get documents. He can't even upload videos to YouTube. And in the comments, people are already asking why there are no updates. And Ethan still needs to prepare for his fencing lesson with Stacy. The hero subscribed to Jang Sambong's channel for $2 billion a month. If you subtract the cost of the house, you are left with $6.5 billion. Channel subscriptions alone cost $3.1 billion a month. They also told me to buy Taeguk. Ethan is crying for his money. It's clear he should go and ask himself. Later, Ethan came to the SH headquarters living room and met Stacy. It seems that she is getting prettier every day. The girl asked how much the training would cost. Ethan said that 2 lessons a week, the training itself will cost $10 billion a month. He asked if it was okay. Stacy said it was fine. Ethan was shocked that she agreed so quickly. Is $10 billion really such a small thing for the SH group? Maybe they should have shut their conscience and asked for more? That was about the amount Stacy had been counting on. Grandpa wouldn't let her spend more. Moreover, this is not a one-time purchase, but a fee that will need to be paid every month. Then they came to an agreement. Yes, $120 billion a year is a big sum even for SH. By the way, Ethan wanted to ask about something. He's going to build a new house. It turned out that this was administratively much more difficult than he thought. Stacy asked if the hero planned to build a new house on his own. Ethan nodded. The girl replied that she would find out everything. It was amazing. She understood everything too quickly. In the forge, Ethan created a weapon. But what kind of weapon is this that can only be used once? The material is just terrible. Aiden was shocked. He asked if Ethan had been training all this time. He could use some too. Stacy took care of all the paperwork associated with the house. Emily suddenly came. She was just passing by and remembered about Aiden, so she came in. She was glad to see Ethan. How old? How old? She asked what was new. The hero answered sheepishly that there were a lot of things, and Emily asked him to tell her more about them. Well, if you remember the fight with Fenrir, and then the elimination of the Panlemonium criminals. But Ethan replied that there was nothing interesting. Well, if he still needs her help, he can contact her at any time. Then Ethan asked if he could ask for a favor. Emily looked embarrassed, but it was nothing. The hero asks for help with building materials. Well, it's not difficult. But Emily asked why he suddenly needed them. Ethan replied that it was to build a house. At first the girl didn't understand, but then, when she realized it, she asked in surprise if he really wanted to build the house himself. Emily knows that Ethan has a very high crafting skill, but crafting weapons and building are different things. The hero handed the girl a list of the necessary materials. After looking at it, she first said that these were not building materials. And then she was completely floored. It looks like Ethan wants to build a house out of monster remains. The hero replied that this was exactly the kind of house he was going to build. Regional Investigation Team Leader Killian Hawk met with John on his own initiative. Said Sean Hanks didn't do anything. Thinks the ringleader figured out who was behind it. Looks like he was trying to cover it up. John said indifferently that it was a disgrace. He asked why Killian was looking at him like that. People are predictable. Or is it because he's the only one drinking now? Of course, if a man wants to try it too. Killian asked why John didn't do anything to Ethan. The director replied that there was Cassie Wang, the commander of the 4th Guard Squad. She said that all was not as it seemed, and Ethan has more humanity than the others. John asked how long Hope's supervisor had been with the Bureau. Almost 7 years old, he is also an old man. John woke up at 11, trained with his father for 8 more, and then he told him to go and see the world. John wandered for 5 more years, then joined the Bureau and worked there for 20 years. Caught many criminals. Many tried to kill him, but John killed them. Otherwise, there could have been many more sacrifices. Maybe that's why he's tired of being human. Humans are much worse than monsters. John knows in his gut that the guy isn't a criminal. In fact, he doesn't trust people. You have to be vigilant when dealing with them. Frankly, in John's eyes, everyone looks like a potential criminal, but there are still people who continue to believe in him. John asked the man what kind of people he thought they were. Those who need to feed their families. It's not that easy. You have to make sacrifices. That's why parents are all admirable. But Ethan has something else. He has to save his own sister. But Killian finds it suspicious that Ethan is engaging in such activities and lying about his level. He almost destroyed the criminal world single-handedly. Well, John doesn't know. Maybe that assessment is unfair. People call the Bureau inspectors butchers, but they are not. But they must remember one thing. The blades of their swords must always be pointed at criminals. John likes a society where people live in peace. This was the world his father had defended. Killian asked where the director was heading. John replied, to the SH group. The man was shocked. But didn't they just say that their sword should be aimed at criminals? Back to Ethan and a shocked Emily. Aiden asks if the hero is sure he can build a house by himself. Ethan had never done anything like this before, but he thought he could do it. He asked if it would be hard to find materials. Emily thinks she can find them. At first she said money wasn't a problem, but no, it is. Dragon scale, golem ore, death knight armor. These aren't just any monsters. All the materials Ethan listed can only be obtained from B rank and A+ rank monsters. These are materials that all hunters need all the time. Emily thinks it will be difficult to get enough. More precisely, it is almost impossible because hunters do not sell them. But that doesn't mean she can't, they'll just cost more. At least 3 times the market price, so Ethan should be looking at 3 billion won. The hero dropped out of that amount. Although it wasn't a problem because Stacy paid for the tuition, but still. Ethan thought about it. You can, of course, reduce the level of materials, but the house must be safe for Chloe, so you can't skimp. Ethan asks Emily if she's sure she'll be able to get them. She says she'll try her best. The problem is that hunters don't sell them. So you'll have to farm them yourself, but the monsters you'll have to hunt start at Class B. The problem is that Ethan's hunter level is still D class, and getting a hunting permit is simply impossible. The hero thought about increasing his rank. There are two main ways to level up. The first is to improve skills and gain recognition. The second is to retake the exam. At first, the first method was the only one. But then an awakening happened and the second method appeared. The exam is a kind of confirmation of awakening. The awakened are divided into two types: those who awaken special abilities and those who strengthen existing ones. The reason for awakening has not yet been discovered. Those who awakened early have an early increase in re-examination, so it could be moved. Ethan decided to test his abilities now, all S-class skills and above. Then there is no time to waste. The hero immediately set off. Luna thought there was an apocalypse somewhere, since her niece came to visit her. They hadn't seen each other for a long time. Auntie says Stacy seems to have had a hard time, but thanks to her, the company has found stability. Stacy said she was just doing her job, and that the company became stable thanks to its director. Luna says that Stacy is the future director and asks how long she plans to do this nonsense. The girl said that she came to Luna as a director, and not as an aunt. Stacy was such a sweet child when she was little, and Luna's brother left her like that. For the Knox family, sharing blood means you're competitors. When Stacy's parents passed away, she found herself under pressure from all sides. In such conditions, it was impossible not to change. Luna would not have been able to survive either, if not for her father and brother. Although she couldn't help Stacy much when she was little, things were different now. Luna asked why her niece wanted to meet. Stacy said she wanted to build a house and asked if she could use the influence of the SH group. Luna thought that her niece wanted to build a villa, but no, an ordinary house. The woman, of course, is in shock. Maybe Stacy doesn't like the house she lives in now. If so, Luna can't stay away. She will report to the president from the construction department. If they don't involve subcontractors, they will be able to build quickly. However, Stacy said that the house was not for her, but she needed permission from the company. Meanwhile, Ethan is already sitting in the waiting room for the re-exam at the Hunter Management Bureau. All around are the unfortunate ones who failed. Confidence is 100 out of 100. They deny the possibility of getting a low grade. Ethan was like that too. After being awakened by the magical explosion in the dungeon, he thought that an S or A class ability had awakened within him as well. The hero even looked forward to the test results, but they disappointed him. Ethan turned out to be an ordinary person who didn't even make it to F class. Of course, now everything is different. Finally, it was his turn and the workers called him. A repeat examination is carried out using a scanner, which confirms the person's awakening. Ethan stood on the footprints in front of him. The measurement began. The hero was told not to move. But he doesn't even doubt himself because he has so many skills. Soon the Bureau, no, the whole world will change. It was a shame that Ethan hadn't decided to review it for so long. However, he had other things to do. But the fight with Pandemonium gave him confidence. The hero will be able to defend himself. He has strength, he will not give up, and will not submit to anyone. So there's no reason to hide anymore. Ethan heard the workers scream in shock. The world has recorded the first SS rank awakening. No, Ethan is the first SSS rank awakening. However, the truth turned out to be that our awakening hero had no ability, and his level was below Class F. Ethan can't believe it. He tells the worker that there must be some kind of mistake. However, the retest was completed, and the hero was asked to leave, although Ethan begged to repeat it again. On the way home, he wondered why it hadn't changed. It was impossible. Maybe the test hadn't been able to detect divine power. The highest rank that exists now is S, but Ethan's stats are even lower than F. But then the test would have shown impossible to determine or something like that. Hercules said Ethan was a nobody, but his personal abilities did not appear. Maybe that is why the test results did not change. Even though Ethan isn't sure about it, it makes sense. Or maybe it's because the skill level isn't 100%. The hero hasn't fully mastered them yet. He's still learning. By the way, how could he know the abilities of the gods? Is it even possible to learn and use them? Hercules said that Ethan is unique in his lack of abilities. That is why only he can know the powers of the gods. But who was that blonde guy in the dungeon? Maybe he knew something about the hero. That's why he came. The blonde said that day that he knew it would happen and apologized for dragging Ethan into it. Remembering these words, the hero thinks that the blonde knew everything. In any case, the retest was useless. Now I'll have to increase the number of dungeon raids and thus increase my rank. Ethan's grade is currently D, but I need at least A. Besides, he hadn't uploaded anything to YouTube for a long time. But he remembered something. Amazing video that fits this situation. Rob Knox, director of the SH group of companies, said the matter must be very important, because the director of the inspection came to him personally. John says the visit is sudden, but the hospitality is top-notch. Well, he was the director of the inspection after all. Rob told John to sit down and ask the reason for the visit. John asked if their company was not a pillar of the Korean economy, but he was the CEO, provides security throughout Korea. John says that running a company means being able to direct your efforts in the right direction, and also to be able to please investors. So it is important not only to have business acumen, but also to be able to sell. And also, do not forget about family. After all, sometimes you have to stab a loved one in the back. Even though John holds the position of director of the inspection, he's not going to get involved in SH's family business. Simply put, he doesn't care if Stacy's company is tracking them or not. Ethan Carter. John thinks the SH director knows the name. Does the inspection director know they're trying to push Stacy out of the company? Because a guy named Ethan helped her raid the dungeon. Did they use Pandemonium to investigate? If Pandemonium contacts Rob again, he won't stop at warnings. He's rude and arrogant, but he's John, and you can't say anything back. Son of Will Falk. While Rob's company may be able to influence politicians and put pressure on the Bureau, John is someone who should not be touched under any circumstances. But why are they protecting Ethan? John understands that the director really does know the name. He won't even ask where from. So John said to stop squabbling, family and all. He thinks that's enough for today. Trajisi thinks that there is no money this month and tearfully asks the boss not to fire him. Ethan asks what she's talking about and what she means by no money. The girl means that they won't get paid until the number of subscribers grows. Hero still doesn't get it. Well, new tub, Trajisi thought Ethan was planning to close it. The hero asked in surprise why. Well, yes, he rarely uploads videos now. So Tracy wasn't getting paid. Well, the conditions here are still pretty good, and the boss is nice. She just hasn't worked this month. Ethan promised a base salary from the start. But actually, he met with Trajisi today specifically to talk about new content. So Ethan asks to continue working with him. The girl was embarrassed. Today is payday. He's already sending it to Tracy, so let him buy something for his little ones. When Ethan was little, he was very happy when his father brought home a tasty chicken after work. To her younger children, she is a parent. And then suddenly Tracy asked to be addressed as you. Ethan looked at her in surprise, but she asked again, embarrassed. Tracy realizes that she's probably wrong, since he's older than her and also the boss. Ethan smiles and says he understands. But since he will call her by her name, the girl can call him brother. Tracy shyly replied that she would try. And yet, the hero started talking about new content. So the rest of the time, they talked about the video. Later, Ethan came to the Seoul branch of the Hunter Management Bureau. The girl recognized the awakened one who came a few days ago. I think his name is Ethan Carter. She asked him what business he had come for. The hero replied that he wanted to check the evaluation standards. Ethan handed over his hunter's license. The girl was very surprised that his current hunter level was D rank. An awakened below F class and a D rank hunter is not just difficult, it is almost impossible. But maybe that's his limit, because Ethan doesn't have an individual ability. Based on the general criteria, he needs to complete 200 D-tier dungeon raids to level up. Then the hero will be able to move up to rank C. Since he usually raids about 3 times a week, this will take care of a little more than a year. Once Ethan has completed 200 dungeons, he will be able to request a review of his rank, and the Bureau will send him a C-level dungeon clearance for review. The hero understood everything and asked how many dungeons he had already completed. At the moment, he had completed 16 raids into D-rank dungeons, 184 left. If she plans to go on a raid today, the girl can make room. Ethan asked to do this, and the girl asked which dungeon he preferred. The hero has no particular preferences, the main thing is that it is closer. There is a D+ dungeon 5 minutes away. But the girl will survive, because there is a significant difference between levels D and D+. Is Ethan really okay? Ethan said that everything was fine. Then he needed to go to the intersection and walk 2 blocks. Less than an hour passed before the hero returned again. The girl thought that it seemed like the D+ level dungeon was too difficult for Ethan. That's why he came back so quickly. The hero apologized, but it was so inconvenient to go back and forth. He asked to combine all the raids into one. Let's get back to talking to Tracy about new content. New project. Become a level A hunter in 1 month. They'll call it How to Become an A-Class Hunter. At the Bureau, Ethan put the crystal on the girl's table and asked if she could combine everything into 1 raid, or at least 50 raids. The employee ran to the head of the branch of the Inspection Bureau of Hunters. The man thought that a new rift had appeared in the dungeon. But a colleague told me that the hunter made a massive raid. He goes through dungeons one after another. The chief thought about 10 or 20, but 150 had just been recorded. The man decided that this was nonsense. The retest showed that Ethan was simply awakened. The workers even checked the results. While the boss was thinking about what to do, another colleague shouted that Ethan had already requested a promotion to C level. To reach level C, you need to go through 200 dungeons, but a minute ago there were 150. The boss suggested writing to the main inspection bureau. Layla relayed a message from management to Cassie. One hunter had gone from a D to a C in just 3 days. The management wants the main bureau to conduct a small investigation, and when Cassie heard that it was about Ethan, she was shocked. Was he really trying to officially establish his rank? It's easier to take a retest, but since the level was raised by achievements, it means that retesting is impossible for some reason. Maybe Ethan became stronger by using some illegal method like black magic. Cassie asked Riley from the 4th Bureau response team if she had encountered any Awoken who gained their powers through dark magic. Of course I have. The girl started jabbering all sorts of things. In general, she can say that magic is a way to change the rules. Riley asked for more specifics. In short, black magic is magic based on negative emotions. Joy, anger, anxiety, fear, love, hate, greed. What is commonly called the 7 passions of man. Black magic exists due to these passions. The stronger the passion, the greater the power of magic. But the soul quickly burns out, and the end of those who want power through black magic is predetermined. They lose their human form and become monsters who only want to kill. Cassie asked how to recognize such people. You can tell at first glance. You don't even need to know magic to do it. Cassie thought they probably looked as sinister as possible. Anyway, Riley continued chatting. Cassie heard that the director had recently met with Ethan in person. He even offered to take care of him. It seems he wants Ethan to become a guard. Cassie asked Layla to tell management not to worry about it. They would handle it. The head of the detachment began to study our hero's case in even greater detail. Ethan created junk in the forge. Metallurgy skill increased by 1,000th. This is definitely not a weapon. Maybe it's because the hero is going to create tools. The quality is definitely lower than that of weapons. Oh well, he'll get used to it. It was much worse initially, but still, it's trash. Time to level up your hunter again. While Emily hasn't yet gotten hold of building materials, you need to raise your level enough to be able to build a house. But will Ethan cope? And at that moment, Emily entered the forge. Remember the sun, here is a ray. The hero asked how things were going with the materials he had asked for. Oh, Emily said it's hard to find that amount. She's trying to find a way. She even asked her younger brother, but it won't be easy. Ethan was surprised that she had a younger brother. Emily hadn't told him. His name was Cain Rain. He would be 20 this year. He is an awakened one, so he works as a hunter now. Emily asked him to help with materials. Still, these are parts of B-class monsters. Emily said that Cain is currently a B-class hunter, and the personality is A+ rank. Ethan is pleasantly surprised. That's great. It hasn't been long since Cain woke up, so he's still immature. Emily worries about him every day, but his ability is super regeneration, so everything is fine. Well, or super revival. This ability enhances regeneration. It's somewhat reminiscent of troll regeneration. They say that even if you cut off a limb, they can regenerate it. So Emily tells Ethan not to worry. She asked her brother to help, so he will definitely get some ingredients. Just then, Aiden came out and Emily ran to talk to him about the World Metallurgy Seminar. Ethan thought that her efforts were not enough. To increase his hunter level, he probably needed to try to obtain the materials himself. In the evening, Tracy was incredibly happy that she had finished. This time it was not easy. Only 184 videos, and the duration is more than 22 hours. Well, since I didn't work last month. For other hunters, it takes over a year to advance from D to C level. But for Ethan, it only took 3 days. At this point, the hero dumped another 300 videos for Tracy to edit. She is shocked that he has already moved from level C to B. Does that mean she'll have to re-edit everything? But at that moment, Ethan's money arrived. He sent 10 million as a bonus for editing. If the views are high, Tracy will receive bonuses. Then the girl decided that she needed to try for her little ones. The video of the first part about quickly raising the level of a D-class hunter to A-class gained more than 800,000 views in a day. Tracy is a great editor. Ethan didn't think it would go so well. By the way, it's not that easy to shoot videos yourself. The hero has already broken so many cameras, but he can't ask Tracy to film more. She's an ordinary person. Ethan thought about hiring an awakened one to film, And then in the courtyard I saw Emily panicking. She doesn't understand why someone isn't picking up the phone. Ethan came up and asked. The girl said that she could not contact Kane. Yesterday he entered the Dragon Turtle's dungeon and hasn't responded since. Emily already called the department, and they said they recorded him coming in. Ethan reassures her that everything will be fine. There's no telling how long the hunt will take. The hero thought that maybe Kane just decided to knock out his squad to celebrate completing the dungeon. At 20 years old, this often happens. But Emily knows that her brother is not like that. Ethan reassures her, saying that he has super regeneration. But just in case, he would report it to the inspectorate. Emily thanked him, and then quickly left. It's obvious that she's worried, but for now we'll have to wait. Meanwhile, Kane woke up tied up in some strange basement. He began to remember what had happened. He hired a squad and attacked the dragon turtles to help his sister. They went hunting, and then their squad mates invited them for a drink. They drank, and then Kane was kidnapped. Suddenly, a man in a white coat told them not to move. He made this chain on purpose. Even an S-class hunter can't break it. Kane asked what the man was trying to do. The man decided that since the boy was curious, he would tell. The crazy man asked the boy if he had ever heard of illegal awakenings. You could say it's because of the madman. However, they don't acknowledge his efforts and die, and the man just wanted to make them stronger. He screams that if you lose a lot of blood, you will die. If they cut off your limbs, you will die of pain. The man grabbed Kane by the face and said that he was different. Christopher Wang, a member of Pandemonium, is confident that the outcome will be different. It just has to be different. Ethan trains Stacy and teaches theory at the same time. Tai Chi is a skill based on the interaction of yin and yang. Yin and yang are diametrically opposed entities like earth and sky. But even though they seem opposite, in fact, they are interconnected and dependent on each other. At first, Ethan tried to create a new style of fencing and teach it to Stacy. But first, he himself needs to understand what he can do, because he doesn't understand a word of what he says. So the hero's new goal is to learn fencing based on Tai Chi. This is a skill that will turn even a simple blow into art, especially since Stacy's ability is a sword master, and this will help her create her own sword technique. Of course, it can hardly be called Tai Chi sword, but no one can call themselves a master of fencing. Ethan thinks that he can develop his fencing to at least level 5. So he tells her to feel the interaction of yin and yang, and try to translate it to herself and her sword, so she can easily repel the enemy's attack. However, Stacy says that it is very difficult. Ethan asks not to worry. In fact, without the skill of insight, he also understands little. But if the girl listens to his explanations, then she will succeed. Ethan will repeat it over and over until Stacy remembers it, so she doesn't have to worry. The hero decided that that was it for today, and wanted to leave, when suddenly the girl said that she would resolve the issue within a month. It's about Ethan's request for a building permit. The hero awkwardly thanked her, but the girl said that there was nothing to thank her for yet. Just as Ethan thought. Is it really true that even Korean laws don't apply to SH? Great. The building materials will be ready by the end of the month. Layla informed Cassie that Kane Rain was missing. The commander asked how it happened, but the assistant handed over a paper and told me to read this first. These are the names of those who were in the same squad with Kane on that raid. They are all illegal awakened. More precisely, these are hunters who are suspected of assisting illegal awakened, all except Kane. Cassie said that since they lured him in on purpose, there must be a reason. It must be his ability. Kane's skill is super regeneration. They say that even if you cut off his limb, he can restore it. So he was probably kidnapped for experiments on people. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, Ethan tried to contact Hercules, but he did not answer. The hero wanted to talk to him about video content. Ethan was so busy that he didn't have time to contact him. Even ignored a few important calls. Hopes Hercules wasn't upset. Okay, Ethan decided that when he called, he would first talk to him about content. And as soon as the hero stood up, he was already surrounded by a crowd of rank B volcanic golems. Tai Chi of Jansanfen, a power that is diametrically opposed to the superpower of Hercules. There are 3 important elements in martial arts: the heart or soul, the energy or mana, and the body or physics. The politeness of Confucius's mind corresponds to the heart, and the mighty strength of Hercules is for the body, and the energy corresponds to the Tai Chi of Jansanfeng. Ethan focused and aimed a blow at the golem. The awakened used the power of mana. Mana is drawn from nature. This is the life force that is in every living being. To use it, a process called purification is necessary, and the efficiency of using mana depends greatly on how the cleansing process goes. Without undergoing purification, mana does not accumulate. Ethan channeled Tai Chi energy again, and a beam of bright light pierced the dark, dense forest. All the golems ahead were exterminated. Ethan did not expect so many soul orbs. All skills have increased a little. Hercules said that it would help. It was good, but the recoil was also strong. If Ethan wanted to combine it with supernatural power, then in his current state, he could only dream of it. But Tai Chi was never a power that a person couldn't use. Ethan was lucky. He never thought that Hua Tuo's medicinal skills would be useful to him. And if you believe the legend, then having mastered divine powers, you can be reborn as a god. Metamorphosis of the body. Although for now Ethan can only use this power partially. But thanks to her, he will be able to regulate the power of Tai Chi. The hero signed up for it only to cure Chloe. But this channel was more useful than he thought. Ethan healed himself a little. Divine healing mastery reached 30%. Now Chloe can go to college. Maybe she can be cured completely? By the way, we need to find someone to shoot the video. Too bad you can't make a camera with divine metallurgy. It's evening. Today Ethan has done 15 raids in B-class dungeons. And to reach rank A, he needs to do 500. At this rate, it will take longer than the hero thought. The dungeons of level B require monotonous passage, so it will not be easy to speed up. But by the end of the month, Ethan will be done. He's already progressing pretty quickly thanks to Fenrir. So the hero bought some beef to thank him. No, maybe 700,000 won was too much. Fenrir's daily ration alone costs 2 million, which is 60 million a month. Of course, that's not the price of membership in GodTube. But perhaps such expenditures on Fenrir are not necessary? Ethan came home. Chloe says she feels great. And what's more, her brother has a visitor. Ethan was surprised that someone came to visit so late and looked into the kitchen. It was Inspector Cassie Wang. The girl said she had been waiting. At that moment, Fenrir swallowed the entire bag of beef that Ethan brought. Funny, Cassie was so surprised. The hero thought she had no emotions at all. But then she got this expression on her face. So Ethan asked why the girl came. Cassie apologized for coming so late. But the thing is, she has some news about Cain. Ethan said that from the looks of it, the news wasn't likely to be good. So he invited Cassie to come outside and talk. The girl said that Cain was kidnapped for experiments. Cassie thinks that this option is the most likely. Previously, Ethan was an awakened being without a special ability, so he tried to awaken the ability by experimenting. Each such experiment ended in pain and shame. All home experiments are like this. And if these are also criminal experiments on people, even if Cain has super regeneration, he might just go crazy. We need to find him as soon as possible. However, Ethan asked why Cassie came to him. It's all because of pandemonium. The criminals are using a so-called mind-suppressing device. It kills even those traces that were recorded by surveillance cameras. It was also used by pandemonium. It can deceive even an S-class hunter. That's why the Inspection Bureau didn't know where pandemonium was hiding. Not long ago, pandemonium and the entire criminal underworld in Seoul were eradicated thanks to one incident. Suddenly by someone unknown. In missing persons cases, there is what is called the golden time. And if it is a kidnapping, once the golden time is over, the chances of finding the person alive almost disappear. But the families of the missing don't know about it. They wait until the end. They hope that the person will definitely return someday. Cassie is the squad leader. Although she is currently ashamed and her pride is hurt, she asks Ethan for help. The girl tries so hard, although in fact Cain is nobody to her. Maybe it's because of insight. Ethan feels her emotions so well. Cassie is ashamed. She even stepped over her pride. The hero feels sorry for her. Besides, she's just asking like a human being. Ethan said that Chloe was home and asked to stay with her until he returned. The hero asked Fenrir to do him another favor. According to the information Cassie provided, it all started in the Dragon Turtle Dungeon, where Cain's last raid took place. The raid was 3 days ago. After the raid, he went out for drinks with the squad. The bar was the last place he was seen. Perhaps that was where the investigation should begin. Maybe we'll be able to find some trace. Although even if there is a trace, it will be almost invisible. The reason Ethan came here is because of Fenrir's sense of smell. If there's even the slightest scent left, he'll smell it. Like back in the hospital, Fenrir smelled something. Maybe a magical trace, or maybe just a smell. Ethan isn't sure, but if he's right, the trail might be easier to find here than in the bar, because more energy was manifested in the dungeon. Fenrir showed by his appearance that he had found it, and they went. Meanwhile, Christopher continued to torture Cain. Blood flowed like a river. The creepy experimenter said that the guy was actually the best option. Kane wonders how much longer he can bear this, and if all this pain will ever end. He can't take it anymore. If only the boy could close his eyes and feel nothing. Christopher brings Kane to his senses and tells him that he can't die. After all, if he dies, his sister will replace him. His sister, the one and only. Kane asks weakly not to hurt his sister. Christopher says that if the boy dies, he will have no choice. After all, since they have the same blood, their abilities should be similar. Kane said his sister didn't have powers. Well, Christopher said he couldn't know for sure until he saw it and laughed. The guy has to hold on. We can't let that crazy guy get to his sister. So Christopher continued his brutal torture. Kane doesn't even know how much time has passed. If he dies like this, his sister will be in danger. No, he has to protect her, but he can't stand it anymore. At that moment, the basement wall shattered into small pieces. Ethan approached the guy and said that his sister was very worried. The hero sees that Kane is in very bad condition. Such wounds should not occur in a person with super regeneration. Although Kane's regeneration level is higher than that of Troll's, the damage clearly exceeded the permissible amount. In this state, the body is no longer important. Perhaps the guy has already gone crazy from pain. However, Ethan realized that when Kane weakly, inarticulately, but adequately responded to the words, perhaps he would still have time. While the hero is treating the guy, he asks him to be patient a little longer for the sake of his sister. Thank God Kane started to recover a little. He asked if his sister was okay. Christopher approached Ethan warily and asked who she was and how she got here. The madman started screaming that this was his personal place, only his. Ethan looked at the floor and saw a bunch of different body parts. It seemed like there were other people here besides Kane. It's hard to believe this guy did all this. It makes my hair stand on end. The hero asked the guy why he was doing this, and he suddenly calmed down and fell silent. Christopher realized that this was no ordinary guy. Kane tells Ethan to run away quickly. Christopher says our hero is not ordinary, but neither is he. They have amazing abilities. Christopher's body began to take on a horrific appearance. It turned into a huge lump of flesh and blood. So the guy asked what ability our hero had and what experiment they would conduct on him. Crossbreeding is the skill of crossing different plant species to produce one new species, and who is able to do it. However, the man who had the ability to crossbreed hated himself for having such a weak ability. He was going crazy and ended up doing something he shouldn't have. He began to experiment and crossbreed the Awakened with each other, but it was not enough. He began to conduct all sorts of experiments on himself and became such a monster. The animal's tentacles began to reach towards Ethan. Kane screamed at him to run away. However, the hero said that it was creepy and beat off all the tentacles. A huge hole appeared in the body of the monster Christopher. However, he immediately began to recover. No, it can't be regeneration. Christopher laughed and muttered that it would be a great experiment. Ethan is incredibly strong, but he's still just a man. And Christopher says he is different, a being that is superior to humans, and weak humans will never reach his level. The monster's huge fist flew towards Ethan. Kane knew it was too late to run away, and Christopher punched the ground with great force. Kane thought it was the end, but our hero stopped the monster's fist. Christopher says that this is already funny. Some guy pushed him like his power contained an ogre skill. That can't be right. Ethan broke through Christopher's shield and hit him with his fist. Kane watches the painting and realizes that the real monster here is not a crazy experimenter. Christopher doesn't believe a human can do this. How can a human be so strong? Was the guy born with this ability? Christopher screams at our hero that he hates him. He hates him so much that he wants to kill him. Strong guys are always like this. Ethan said to stop. I asked why Christopher was doing this. Did he really want to become stronger? The guy said that our hero didn't know anything. He doesn't have the ability, so he has to. No one even knows how terrible he feels. I asked if Ethan even knew what it was like to be weak. Our hero was born strong. He would never understand it. How miserable and slavish the life of weaklings is. And the guys who were born with abilities had power from the very beginning. They didn't achieve it themselves. They didn't try. They only got their strength because they were born with it. And then they say, "You're so weak because you don't try." It's so disgusting. It's just infuriating. Everyone likes the strong. That's why Christopher wants to kill them all. Ethan came closer and said that he used to think that way too. He had recently asked what Hercules was thinking when he was doing the 12 labors. The 12 labors that made Hercules a great hero. I wonder if he was afraid. Hercules replied that he had tried to commit suicide at the time. Ethan initially thought it was a joke. However, in a fit of madness, Hercules killed his family. The guilt made every day seem like hell. He thought that life was no longer worth living. But Theseus stopped him. How could you atone for your guilt by committing suicide? So it's not a matter of grandiose aspirations or maturity. These feats were for the sake of redemption. It was hard. More than once, Hercules was threatened with death. I thought about it every day. I thought he couldn't. I thought he could give up now. Ethan didn't believe it at first. Hercules always passed trials and tribulations with ease. The hero thought he was the ideal who always won. The demigod says that results are, of course, important. But if Ethan asks if they are the main ones, he would say no. How exactly did you achieve such results? That's what's important. That's the most important thing. People say he did the 12 labors because he's Hercules. Achieved such results because he was great from the start. But no one is born great. Only trials become great right away. And greatness and success are not so important. Of course, there are different situations. Sometimes it is simply impossible to win. There are circumstances that cannot be overcome. But to achieve greatness, you do not have to overcome the impossible. It is important to ask yourself the question, why do I want to become great? Only one reason is needed. It can be stupid or childish, but you should always remember it. When you want to do something or achieve something, there will always be tens of thousands of reasons why it is impossible. But only one, why do you want to do it, will help you achieve what you want. That's why Hercules is here, in front of Ethan, talking about greatness. It's not innate strength that separates the strong from the weak. Ethan tells Christopher that he shouldn't pretend to know everything. The guy just wants to justify himself to himself. Ethan began to concentrate and put everything he had learned into context. The mind of Confucius, Tai Chi of Jan Sanfen, the power of Hercules, harmony of strength, energy and body. Ethan used the art of Hercules, a magical combat technique, heavenly crushing strike. Cain is shocked and asks why the world has become so white. Ethan howled. It hurt so much it wasn't a joke. The recoil was too strong. He didn't originally intend to use this martial art, but he was so annoyed by this nonsense that he had to shut Christopher up. The hero doesn't fully understand what's happening. Normally, he would simply lose consciousness. Ethan asked if Cain could move. Yes, his body seemed to have recovered a little. But the boy is shackled. They say that even an S-class hunter cannot break these shackles by force. Ethan removed them with a flick of his wrist and asked again if Cain could move. The guy awkwardly apologized but asked who our hero was. He quickly wanted to know. Ethan said he was Emily's friend. Cain asked if our hero was her boyfriend, but Ethan said he was just a friend. He had no reason to lie. The guy asked if everything was okay with his sister, and was very scared when the hero answered that no. Ethan said she had been worried about her brother all this time, so why wouldn't he come back and reassure her? Although Ethan looks fine now, he can barely speak because his regeneration is not as good as Cain's. The guy apologized and thanked him for saving him. Ethan smiled and suggested going home. Later, Sean, the head of Pandemonium, came to the basement. He was, to put it mildly, in shock. The deputy thinks they were hit. No body was found. Sean doesn't believe it just disappeared. There must be research materials left. The assistant searched everything but did not find the key materials. Pandemonium was going to mass-produce weapons from people by combining the personalities of the awakened. Create monsters by crossing special abilities. Pandemonium had been working on this plan for several years, and in one moment, everything collapsed. There are not even any marks of a sword on the walls or ceiling. Sean asks what kind of bastard did this. The assistant said that the inspection bureau would arrive soon and that we had to leave. Sean demanded to know who could have done this. Back home, Ethan was told that Chloe knew everything. Cassie thought her sister knew that her brother was a hunter. He even had a channel on YouTube. The girl did not tell her all the details, but hinted at what had happened. Since Cassie works at the inspection bureau and came to the hunter, she thought that it was worth explaining to Chloe that her brother was not guilty of anything. Although yes, she is his younger sister, but Ethan had reasons not to tell her anything. The hero did not say anything because he did not want his sister to worry. He thought that since she didn't know anything, he supported and protected her. But in reality, she always covered for him and protected him. Cassie said that Ethan has a good sister, very smart, but he is also a good brother. It's a pity that the girl is not like that. Ethan was surprised that the girl had an older brother. He was even more perplexed when she said that he was 14. He does not age because he lives only in her memory. Christopher, the ability to crossbreed the abilities of other awakened ones has awakened in him. It seemed he had managed to attach other monsters to himself as well. Ethan was surprised that this was possible. Hercules said that abilities are unique, so how can you appropriate someone else's? Cassie responded that Ethan knew better if it was possible, but that it meant losing his own identity. Pandemonium planned to mass-produce such monsters. It's scary to imagine how many victims there would have been if their plan hadn't been thwarted. Cassie cannot speak on behalf of the Inspectorate Bureau, but personally, she would like to express her huge thanks to Ethan. Following the failure of the mass production of Pandemonium monsters, the Inspection Bureau launched a full-scale investigation, but this frightened the public, so the investigation was hidden from both the media and the world. Emily's younger brother returned safely to his sister, and Ethan continued raiding dungeons and improving his skill proficiency. It seems that neither mastery levels nor skills have been affected by the last battle, but Ethan destroyed all the equipment. Their cost will exceed the money from YouTube. How can he find someone who can film? Well, at least the memory card survived. The hero is glad that the video was not damaged. By the way, he thought that the competition for booking dungeons would be more serious. Ethan finally cleaned up his. These dragon turtle shell pieces will be needed during construction, almost indistinguishable from the scales of a real dragon. It'll take some time to get some materials. It looks like Ethan will be an A-class hunter soon. Coming out of the dungeon, the hero met Kane. It's amazing that he recovered so quickly. But how did he know that Ethan was here? The guy was told at the administration. Well, not exactly told. There were no more dungeons to book, but Kane was given a list of all the cleared dungeons. And he looked for Ethan in all these dungeons. He thought he would wash away exhaustion. The hero asked why the guy didn't just call. Kane replied that he didn't know the number, although he could have asked his sister. The guy saw the light and said that Ethan was just a genius. Still, the hero asked why Kane was looking for him. His sister told him everything. He knows Ethan collects monster byproducts. He's the one who saved Kane's life, so the guy came to help. But the hero replied that he didn't need help. Kane was a B-class hunter. Ethan couldn't just exploit his talent. However, the guy wants to help the hero for free. He heard that the hero helped Emily. Ethan's eyes lit up. The hero refused because his sister was also helping. Kane stopped him and suggested going on a raid first and then making a decision. Kane has booked the Dragon Turtle dungeon. Ethan is shocked. The Dragon Turtle is so popular that it is impossible to get to. Did the guy kill someone for the reservation? Kane offered to go with them. He would prove that he could be useful, and everything they got would go to Ethan. It doesn't seem like the guy will be put off by a refusal, especially since if he gives everything they get, the hero has nothing to lose. Ethan looked at his broken camera and remembered that Kane was a B-tier hunter, but his regeneration was A+ class. Even if he suffers, he will recover, even from divine beings. So you don't have to worry about it during the fight. Ethan walked up to Kane, put his hand on his shoulder, and asked if he knew how to operate a camera. So they immediately went underground. The hero thought it would be harder. Instead of breaking, the armor seems to disappear. Ethan doesn't understand what's happening. The last time he used the super permissive fist was to hunt a dragon turtle. But Tai Chi's true purpose was that the power dissolved into nothingness. Tai Chi nullified the hardness of the dragon turtle's armor. It fits perfectly with Ethan's skills. Hercules had good reason to recommend it. However, the scales crumbled in his hands. We need to adjust the power. By the way, Ethan asked his friend if the filming was going well. Kane nodded. But the guy was shocked that Ethan killed 20 dragon turtles in 1 minute. The hero said that Kane's salary would be 10 million won, but he won't get any bonuses for watching. Ethan said not to worry. There will be extra pay for working in dangerous conditions. Kane nodded and promised to try. After the raid, Kane sent the video to Tracy, who realized that the boss had hired a cameraman. Kane is surrounded by monsters and asks Ethan to leave it to him. The guy dodged it deftly, but still got a couple of bruises. The main thing is that he protected the camera. The monsters won't be able to deal with him that easily. Ethan gave him this camera. He will protect her even at the cost of his life. Kane tells a confused Ethan not to worry and just continue. The guy says he's so honored to be the cameraman. Tracy thinks the video could have been better. Later, Emily visited the forge. Ethan thought that she had come to the seminar too, but she came for another reason. Kane told his sister everything. Ethan teaches him a lot. The hero replied that he does not teach. It's more like Kane is helping him, and the hero no longer has to worry about his camera breaking down. Even though Kane is not experienced, from dungeons to collecting materials, he took all the worries upon himself. Still, Emily doesn't know how to thank Ethan for saving her brother. The hero replied that Kane was her family, so there was no need to thank him. Emily was confused. Ethan asked again because Kane was her younger brother. Emily blushed, and the hero thought that something was bothering her. The girl replied that everything was wrong. It's just that Kane is starting to call Ethan his son-in-law. It's so weird. Emily said it doesn't matter and ran away. The hero himself was left at a loss. In any case, Ethan will soon become a level A hunter. 100,000 subscribers are just around the corner. Almost all the necessary building materials have been collected, and the building permit is almost ready. Preparations for the construction of the house are coming to an end. Ethan came home, opened his phone, and saw that Hercules was offering a video call. That's right, the hero completely forgot. He was so busy these days that he ignored several calls from him and forgot to call back. Hercules must have been angry. He'd be lucky, if not too much. Oh, Ethan's going to get it. The hero immediately answered the call. Hercules asked calmly if Ethan is there. It's been a while since we spoke. Everything seems fine. Maybe Hercules doesn't care. Hercules said that he was very worried and asked why the guy was acting like that. Wow, he's just furious. Ethan replied that there were important things to do. Hercules is offended, of course. Does the hero really not care at all? Ethan replied that he didn't do it on purpose. Things just keep falling apart. Well, of course, the great lord is very busy. Surely his affairs are much more important than Hercules. The demigod said his channel had 90 subscribers, but the guy said nothing. But didn't the number of subscribers increase to 100 after the last video? What was Hercules doing that the number of people dropped so much? Well, what happened, happened. Besides, Hercules had a long rest. And today they will train the whole body. The demigod said that if the guy is ready, then they will begin. Ethan did unreal exercises that he was already ready to go to the next world. And Hercules only commanded, saying, "Straighten your back, don't be lazy," and so on. What madness. The demigod shouted that it was impossible to slack off and that such push-ups did not count. There was no need to fool around all this time. So, Ethan studied until the very night. The hero looked at his phone. Superpower mastery had only increased by 3%. Ethan feels another level of power, like something is rising up from within. However, it was clearly not strength. The hero can't do it anymore. No joke, he's going to die now. Is it better to use Tai Chi or just die? Hercules asked. Who said it was okay to rest? Maybe Hercules should take up a sword. This training will kill him. Ethan can't feel his body anymore. This bastard is definitely going to kill him. Hercules said the real workout was just beginning. Now they'll do 3,000 burpees. Ethan, out of breath, suggested filming the content instead. So, Hercules headed to the Egyptian pyramids. The Sphinx asked what he needed and why he came. It doesn't matter. The demigod came here to compete in riddles. But just asking riddles is not interesting. So Hercules suggests adding a new rule. That evening, Ethan challenges his friend to a riddle battle with the Sphinx. As far as he knows, there was a video about it on the Sphinx's channel. The first subscriber to guess the riddle will get the right to dinner with the most beautiful woman in Egypt, Cleopatra. That riddle has never been solved. Hercules thought it was impossible. But was there anything impossible for him? Maybe that's the whole point. Hercules didn't quite understand. He asked if Ethan knew Thoth, the god of wisdom. Even he lost to the Sphinx. Although the Sphinx herself had lost to Oedipus long ago, she had not been defeated since. But Ethan said it was even better this way. If Hercules defeated the Sphinx, the audience would grow naturally. Hercules' eyes light up and he asks how to defeat her, but Ethan has no idea. Despite his ability to see everything, Thoth, the god of wisdom, has lost. So how can our heroes win? But their goal is not victory. Hercules doesn't understand it at all yet. Ethan says you don't have to win the fight. They're on YouTube. So all they have to do is present everything in the right light. Return to the present time. Hercules suggested to the Sphinx to add a new rule. Each time the one who answers incorrectly gets a slap in the face. The Sphinx asks if Hercules really wants to die or if this is some kind of dirty trick. Why then? First she asks 2 questions. Hercules asks 1. Isn't that fair? If the Sphinx answers correctly, it will be able to hit him. Or is the Sphinx afraid of guessing wrong? She was silent for a couple of seconds and then agreed. Thought it was a great chance to beat up this muscular pig. Good choice. Well, Hercules tells her to ask 2 questions. So, the first question. He was born in water. If he returns to water, he will die. He will come out of water. He will live. Who is this? Hercules thought and answered, a whale. But no, the correct answer is salt. The Sphinx was stunned. She wondered if she could hit him. He could tear her to pieces. Hercules asked if she was afraid to hit him. They had agreed. Oh, come what may. The Sphinx scratched his entire chest. Oh, Hercules felt it. The Sphinx ran back and shouted that they had agreed. Everything was according to the rules. He doesn't argue. He asked what the next question was. Great. Hercules didn't respond to the blow. The next riddle is lying on the ground and cannot be painted over, scraped off, or covered over. Hercules answered, sand, but the correct answer is shadow. Now the Sphinx will deal him a powerful blow. She scratched his body with even greater force. Now it's Hercules' turn. The Sphinx is secretly happy. All she has to do is give the correct answer to whatever riddle he asks. So here's the riddle. The Sphinx knows the centaur. When a centaur is expecting a child, which half of it has a belly? The Sphinx suddenly fell silent. Hercules asked if she really didn't know. The girl asked for a moment to think. The upper part of the centaur's body is human, and the lower one belongs to the horse. Both have organs that can make you pregnant. But which one? The Sphinx cannot believe that there is a question to which she does not know the answer. Hercules really wants to capture the moment. Well, he thinks, now it's his turn to hit. The Sphinx thought that she was finished. He would definitely finish her off. She answered that in both parts. And then Hercules said to hit him. If you don't know the answer, you get hit. Okay, he said it was a riddle. But he didn't say that he knew the answer to it. The Sphinx started to run away, begging for help. She doesn't want to clean up. Well, if she doesn't strike first, Hercules will strike himself. He used Hercules' magic. The second type is a super powerful fist of destruction. Ethan witnessed Hercules' perfect magic. It was awesome. Even watching it raises the level. And the number of views is normal. Instead of 90, there are already 783. Well, the video went well. Luna was told that Stacy was acting on behalf of a man named Ethan Carter. She brought his request to the principal. The woman was clearly shocked and looked at the guy's photo. Her niece asked for a favor for this man. The question immediately arises about what kind of relationship they have. The assistant can't say for sure, but Stacy spends 2 or 3 days a week with him. He thinks it's safe to say they're dating. Alone in the Hunters Guild headquarters, the moon fell into a precipitate. Her niece, who ignored celebrity and powerful heirs, is dating this guy. The girl has grown up. Luna, like her aunt, cannot remain idle. Hercules thanks Ethan. Thanks to him, he got 1,000 subscribers. Apologizes for being harsh. The hero was surprised that 300 more were achieved in one night. Ethan says that he is not worth the gratitude, so he better get up. Hercules is even a little sad. He asks how Ethan came up with this idea. The hero said he would think of something. It just took a long time. Hercules is probably disappointed, so the path will stop bowing. The demigod cried out that it was only natural that the teacher who was building the house was busy. It was his fault that he was in a hurry and could not wait. By the way, Ethan asked what happened to the Sphinx and whether it was dead. Hercules replied that of course it was not dead. He begged for help so much that the demigod took pity on him, so he didn't use his full power and struck softly. Well, you could say that the Sphinx escaped from under Hercules' nose but left something as a thank you. Hercules gave Ethan a subscription to the Sphinx channel. It was considered a gift to Hercules, but how could he use it? So I thought about my teacher, so here I gave it to Ethan. So the hero can subscribe to one channel for free. Considering the fee, he will save tens, no, hundreds of billions of won. Isn't that a victory? The best gift. Hercules is glad that the teacher liked it, but the Sphinx gave him something else. He will give this to Ethan too. And then Hercules got a one-time ticket for dinner with Cleopatra. He heard she was a beauty. They say she was just like Aphrodite. So Hercules told Ethan not to be shy and to have dinner with her sometime. The hero sat down in a restaurant, ordered food, but the waiters looked at him strangely. How did this happen? Finally, Cleopatra came and greeted Mr. Ethan. A date with Cleopatra. Won't people think he's crazy? By the way, she is really beautiful. Confucius said that a gentleman values intelligence and does not pay attention to appearance. Or is it her professionalism? From these thoughts, the skill of Confucius increased a little. Suddenly, Cleopatra leaned towards Ethan and proposed marriage. The hero wondered if she was even in her right mind. Cleopatra said that he looked like he thought she was crazy. Well, he won't deny it. The girl asked if he was overdoing it. Ethan replied that, judging by her words, it was she who was going too far. The gentleman's heart skill increased even more. The girl simply said, "What if he really thought about it?" Cleopatra asked if Ethan was trying to be brutal now. The hero replied that he was simply telling the truth. Well, he was the first man to behave like that with her. Usually men are ready to give everything, including their liver and gallbladder, when they see Cleopatra. No wonder. When you see such beauty, you really want to give everything. Intestines, heart, pancreas, take it all. So Cleopatra asked if they would get married. And how did she come to that conclusion again? Ethan thought she was joking, but the girl was serious. Then the hero resolutely refused. Cleopatra asked if he really didn't like her, or he thinks she's ugly. Ethan counters that they can't meet in person, but she asks if love requires physical interaction. Ethan said he didn't, but that it was necessary to some extent. In fact, he thought it was necessary. That is, he does not feel anything for Cleopatra. More precisely, he does not give in to temptation. If he sacrifices his liver and gallbladder, then only for those whom he truly loves. Cleopatra was amazed. She actually fell in love with our hero. Ethan probably thinks she's talking nonsense. Asks if he can't just lie. The skill's mastery level continues to increase. Besides, a gentleman's heart grows the slowest. No one knows what will happen if Ethan gives in. Anyway, he is a man and can't date Cleopatra. She said he doesn't look like a man, especially now that he hasn't given in to her temptation. And then Cleopatra thought that Ethan had problems downstairs. The hero asked if they could finish dinner already. Cleopatra apologized, she was just joking. However, she asked what if Ethan became a god.